Racing. Caught them pretty well. English Wonder dropped out. Lawman and Deb's Mate collided after the start. Both began okay, and My Axman's the early leader in the centre. From LA Bajou and Fearless Pride, Thompson's going up to head them off and get to the rails. Magari's fourth. Deb's Mate trapped wide with no pair keeping it out, and Kingston Town's about seventh. Then when Kingston Town can't win, then LA Bajou and the 3-year-old Grosvenor running on. My Axman took the lead from Fearless Pride. Grosvenor coming down the outside is after them. My Axman in front. Grosvenor and Kingston Town flashing. He might win yet, the champ. Grosvenor took the lead. Oh, Kingston Town swamping them. What a run. Kingston Town wins it next to Grosvenor. Racing. They've jumped away pretty well. Out wider on the track, Manikato bounced in front. Rancher was only about 6th or 7th away. Rancher's under pressure. Manikato's got him. Manikato's going to get the million. I think he took the lead from Rancher. Razor Sharp running on well from Avatar, but Manikato's cracked the million. He's 1.5 lengths to Razor.
I'm Bill Collins. They're 2 in a million, aren't they? Heart thumpers. Together on that day, here at the Valley and within 40 minutes of each other, they combined to bring about one of Australian racing's masterpieces. Kingston Town won his 3rd consecutive Cox Plate. Manikato, a sprinter mind you, passed the $1 million mark in stakes. The whiff of immortality was in the air that day. People cried unashamedly. Hard-nosed punters temporarily forgot the lure of the ring to just stand here and let sentiment run out. And why not? It was one of the undying moments of the turf. If you couldn't feel it, if it couldn't move you, there was something other than blood in your veins. Yet, if you think about it, the formula is stunningly simple. Great horses make great racing. They always have, and they always will. And more than that, great horses, by definition, have the tick of the heart. And an Australian sporting crowd respects nothing so much as courage. How lucky, how blessed we've been to have had Kingston Town and Manikato racing at the same time, and for so long. Manikato first started at Cranbourne early in 1978. He's been a champion year in and year out ever since. Kingston Town first won in Sydney in 1979, and he's been a year in and year out champion too. These are the 2 great warriors of the Australian turf in the 70s and 80s. Warriors? Yes, I think that's the right word. In the end, they were both carrying scars. In the end, Manikato was doing it as much on courage as ability. Kingston Town earned the bulk of his $1.6 million with 2 troublesome joints. In an era of now you see them, now you don't champions, these 2 have been so good for so long, the very sight of them is etched on our minds. There's Kingston Town, the black, with a huge girth in the inevitable white breastplate. Kingston Town with that slight dish in the face that allows you to pick him out so easily in a race. Kingston Town has been known to lurch around a Melbourne turn, to slack with a champion's arrogance in the early stages of a race, but who knows how to get his head down and who seems to claw at the ground in his desperation to win. Kingston Town, who knows exactly where the post is, especially this one. And there's Manikato. He's all hulking power and strength, one of the heaviest horses we've ever seen. When he lets go as they straighten, you see this great expanse of chest, the ears laid flat back. You see pounding forelegs and white bandages, the high knee action. Manikato, who was never really in love with the human race, but who always stands quietly in his stall after trying his heart out while Bob Hoisted swaddles his forelegs in ice wrapped in plastic shopping bags. Think about Manikato. You have to be careful in the racing world with the label champion. We use it too freely. But will we ever see another horse win 5 consecutive William Reeds here? Or 3 consecutive Futurity Stakes at Caulfield? And all this despite leg troubles, despite a massive bleeding attack, despite a heart attack. But not only is Manikato a champion, we can, I think, say we will never see the likes of him again. Just as we may never see the likes of Bob Hoisted's training performances with him. Incredibly, the 2 great horses never met in a race. But what the 2 have in common is sporting class. What they have in common is the great tick of the heart. What they have in common is that they are the first 2 Australian horses to top the $1 million stakes mark. And yet, they are both proof of the peculiar democracy of the Australian turf. You could have bought both of them as yearlings for a total of $11,500. The vision of Kingston Town, or at least of some superior racehorse of the future, was born on a golf course. In the early 70s, David Haynes, a Melbourne merchant banker, was taking a modest interest in racing, which was teasing him with small successes. And he was taking his advice on horses from his golf tutor, this man.
David Haynes asked me to see if I could procure a couple of broodmares in Italy whilst I was over there. They had the two best horses, I think, that ever lived, Manikato and Rebo, and if we could sort of get the blood of Manikato or Rebo here to Australia. With regards to broodmares, too many people were thinking so much about sires. I believe that the broodmare factor in breeding is just as important as the sire line. And with two such great horses, Manikato and Rebo, Italy had the best that we could possibly get. And fortunately, I was able to meet with the Marchese di Incisa, that was the owner of Rebo when he was racing. And through him, I was able to have a look at some of the fillies that he had, and one of them that impressed me was Ada Hunter.
The second part of the vision was to marry the stout blood of Ada Hunter to blistering Australian speed, to that of Star Kingdom's grandson, Bletchingley. Well, the inspired mating produced a black colt who first stepped out in the Alfalfa Handicap for 2-year-olds at Canterbury in March 1979 and ran last. Malcolm Johnson gives the losing margins.
Stone motherless last. I think he was about 10 lengths behind the second last horse. So my first memories of Kingston Town weren't of the brightest category because, as I said, he raced very dismally and he ran last.
The black colt was spelled and transformed into a black gelding.
Yes, and we turned him out for about 10 weeks, and you wouldn't think it was the same horse when he came back in. He just started to gallop from then on.
As though to taunt him, he was then successively entered for 2 Rose Hill races bearing the names of great entires, the Round Table Handicap and the Sir Ivor Handicap. He won them both, picking up $5,000 for each. Only 25 starts later, he became the first horse in the Southern Hemisphere to win $1 million in stakes. Kingston Town was some vision. Never ridicule golf. And there's more to this golfing interlude. Haynes bought Ada Hunter in 1973. He bought 2 other horses that year, the German-bred Ursula Lauderdale and a yearling filly by Better Boy, who'd races Kingston Rose. All 3 cost modest amounts. From their first Australian foals, the mares produced the winners of $2.5 million. Kingston Town, Lowen Star and Rose of Kingston. Those mares made David Haynes, who first went to the races about 15 years ago, one of Australia's most successful owners. And he's been so successful, you cannot write it off to luck. In the history of Australian racing, there's never been a package like those 3 mares. Never, never ridicule golf. You could easily drive right past it. Like its owner, there's nothing ostentatious about the place. And yet probably, horse for horse, it's the most successful breeding and racing establishment in Australia. Kingston Town, a cheeky black foal, was reared here. He remodelled his face on a fence over there. And he was first ridden in the sand ring over there. And in between campaigns, he comes back here to rest in a white rail paddock with his mate Drew away. And when the great saga is over, he'll spend the rest of his days here. And so he should, because after all, he really owns the place. As a weanling running here, the black youngster wasn't called the King, or indeed anything regal. He was called Sam, Black Sam, and Sam could be a damn nuisance. Neville Pepper, manager at Kingston Park.
He had a small cut on his leg, and we were bringing him in to treat it, and he got away on the lad and took off gallop down the paddock with the lead around him, and which was frightening him, I think, and he didn't see the fence. He just kept going, and that was the, you know, his head down going, and that was the he hit it there, and actually he got in the next door neighbours. He went straight through the fence, and who had a few ponies there, and they came running over to see what it was, and he got such a fright of them that he just came back and he jumped the fence on the way back. So if he wasn't any good as on the flat, we might have thought we might have been able to jump him or something.
Sam was good-legged and mischievous, but nothing special. David Haynes.
Now, he was a fairly typical Bletchingley foal as we know it now. The Bletchingley foals are quite often fairly ordinary when they're young.
And here he is. Judge for yourself. Helen Pepper, Neville's wife, took this film just after Sam had been branded and weaned. And you could have bought him, you know. He was sent to the 1978 Wright-Stevenson Melbourne yearling sale. Lot 4 he was, and you could have had him for $8,000. That was the reserve. Haynes also sent the filly who would win the AJC and QTC Oaks to the same sale. Lowen Star, as she would become, was passed in for $12,500. The reserve was $18,000. Graham Campbell, former manager of Wright-Stevenson, remembers the colt.
He was a nice black colt. He was quite attractive, but like so many of the people, and of course David's proven right over the years, he hadn't really been prepared for a yearling sale. He was a horse who'd been prepared out of the paddock. He was in very good condition, but more like a racehorse than a yearling as far as a commercial venture was concerned. David had a reserve of $8,000 on him. We got to $5,000, and I was surprised, to be honest, that he didn't sell him, because it was the first crop of Bletchingley, and the mare to that stage had had 2 previous runners, and nothing had come out of the family. In fact, in the second generation, there was jumpers. And consequently, we were a bit surprised that he didn't take the $5,000 that was offered. But of course, as is so often the case, he was proven right and we were proven wrong, and he turned out a really great horse.
Haynes didn't know he was going to be proved so resoundingly right when Neville Pepper started to break in the colt. It wasn't easy.
He was a problem, all right. He was probably one of the worst horses you ever want to break in. He had his own way. You couldn't do much with him at all.
Haynes named the horse after the property, as he'd previously done with stud bulls. And Tommy Smith got his best horse since Tulloch like this.
We generally felt that we would like one of the horses trained in Melbourne and one in Sydney. And Tom had trained a couple of other horses for us. And so we allocated Kingston Town to him. There was no special reason why Kingston Town went to him and Lowen Star went to Angus Armanasco. It was just, I guess, the luck of the toss.
Well, I thought he'd only be a fair horse. I never dreamt of him being a champion.
Well, as I said earlier, Kingston Town was a disaster at his first start, a fair horse in winning his next 2 after a 10-week spell. At his third start, he won again over 1,200 metres in a Warwick Farm handicap. But watch this win, his 5th start, the Group 2 Peter Pan Stakes at Rose Hill. Here is the foretaste of the coming glory.
Well, he surprised me, all I could say. I never dreamt him. He improved that fast, and I couldn't catch up with him.
Shogun and Outcome couldn't keep up with him in the gloaming. And Mighty Kingdom, who went on to win the Caulfield Cup, couldn't get near him in the Spring Champion Stakes.
I think when we saw Kingston Town come round the corner and walk away from the field on Championship Stakes Day, we suddenly thought, well, this horse has got something quite special.
I remember Mighty Kingdom come at me with a furlong to go, and I just kicked the black horse in the ribs, and he just won by 4 lengths.
Think about what he'd done. It was only his second preparation. He'd gone from a $5,000 2-year-old handicap win to the Champion Stakes in 3 months. He'd won a triple crown of sorts. He was, as they say in the game, hot. So, of course, he had to come to Melbourne for the spring. The King came south in a blaze of headlines. He came in hot. 3 races later, he went out, well, lukewarm. More a tease than an undisputed champion. Was he just a Sydney horse? Just as decades ago the fine stayers Comic Court and Delta couldn't handle the Sydney way, so the King spent this spring lurching around Melbourne courses like a good-natured drunk, leading with his off leg when he should have been on his near, bothered by wet tracks which caused his small hoofs to go soft. He gave you the feeling of a Formula One car jammed in second gear.
He couldn't handle the reverse way of going, and people called him a Sydney champion and this and that, but the horse, he just couldn't, he couldn't change over legs. Like some horses can, they can race well here and then they go to Melbourne and they don't race well, but other horses will race well in Melbourne and won't race well here. He was a horse, he was a champion racehorse, but he just really never adapted at first to the reverse way of going.
The once and future King went to the paddock. We hadn't seen the half of it. In the autumn of 1980, Kingston Town was electrifying. First up, he fairly scorched over the 1,200 metres of the expressway at Randwick. He was never thought of as a sprinter in the Manikato style, yet he cut it out in 1:9.7. Next, he won at Rose Hill over 1,500 metres.
800 to go as they come onto the side, and Conorac the leader by a length. In second place, Tulip Town, and 3 parts of a length to Farewell Chime. 3/4 of a length, Kingston Town going comfortably and within about 2.5 lengths of the leader. A little over a length, the Milton, who's going much better today than he was last week, and they were followed by Ulan Boy. Then Till Pips being hard ridden with Big Print last, still under restraint, and Red Kilt alongside of him. They're on the bend for home with about 4:50 to travel. Conorac just leading from Tulip Town, a length behind them Kingston Town. On the rails then Ulan Boy, and they were followed by Milton. At the head of the others then is Till Fibs. Coming to the 250, Tulip Town the leader, but Kingston Town's raced to him straight away, and Kingston Town at dash clear with 200 to go from Tulip Town. Milton is running on well on the outside, will get second, and Kingston Town's going to win pretty comfortably. Milton, however, giving a good display today, stretches out beautifully in the run home, but has beaten 2.5 lengths, but a good derby trial.
Gates fly, and they're away in the Rose Hill Guineas of 1980, and as they race into view, Lloyd shows...
Then came an amazing 3 weeks in which he strolled away with 4 Group 1 races. The Formula 1 racer was in overdrive now. Sometimes he made 2 and 3 runs in a race. Always the same horse ran second. It was called Daylight. The Rose Hill Guineas was the start of it.
Back with Knights Affair and Brindisi as last. Now the pace slowed suddenly again as they wheel to the back, and Roman Warrior now takes over the running. Roman Warrior led narrowly from Kingston Town, running third. Laureate on the outside of Lloyd Show. It's a very muddling run race though. They've pulled up to a canter at the 1400. Roman Warrior just in front of Kingston Town. Laureate third, arching the neck on the outside of Lloyd Show, and then Rocky Top. Farewell Chime has caught out 3 deep at the moment. Close handy behind those, Polo Player. Riverdor's out a bit deep, and then Cordelphia. Knights Affair's rider not happy with the pace, about to take off very quickly, and here's a new leader now in the Guineas. Knights Affair went to the lead. Knights Affair in front, coming to the 1,000, kicked away about 2.5 to Kingston Town. Roman Warrior third on the outside, but by golly, Johnston got into trouble there. The rider of Roman Warrior went up on the outside of the other one, Knights Affair. Johnston tried to go with him. He got cut out momentarily. Farewell Chime now moves to 4th, a length and a half to Laureate, followed by Lloyd Show, then Rocky Top, Riverdor, Polo Player, Cordelphia, hard ridden, a good way back, Big Print and Brindisi, and dropping out to last is High Mystery. At the 600 metres mark, Knights Affair the leader, Roman Warrior second, flat to the boards, Kingston Town third, then Farewell Chime, Rocky Top about to take off on the outside. Further back then, coming into it, Polo Player, but he's carted deep on the turn. At the head of the others, Lloyd Show and Laureate behind them, and then Big Print in the straight, 250 to go, and he's let loose on Kingston Town, and the champ has gone to Knights Affair in a stride. Look at that acceleration. Kingston Town race clear below the 200, and the Guineas looks to be all over. Knights Affair in second place, running on. Polo Player finishing doggedly, but Kingston Town wins in a breeze. He's a champion. Kingston Town by 4 lengths. Polo Player...
Sydney Daily Mirror racing editor, Tom Brazel.
The Rose Hill Guineas was the day that I first thought to myself, well, this horse is a real champion, because Malcolm Johnson had to use him a lot early in the race, and he stopped and started on him. He got a position, and as soon as Malcolm wanted to ease, well, the horse eased. He dropped into whatever tempo Malcolm wanted to ride him.
In the back straight, 1,300 metres out in the Tancred Stakes, and the leader's going beautifully, Double Century. And
then the Tancred Stakes, which, like the Cox Plate, is a good horse's race at a good horse's distance and at weight for age.
Fourth spot, followed closely by Desper on the outside of Justice Steel. Pagal striding around that pair, 3 deep, another 2 to Sunstone, followed by Our Cavalier. Well back, Chivalry and Golden Black, and Salamander last, and about 10 or 12 lengths covers the field. Onto the top turn with 900 to go, Double Century the leader. Bowbacker's second, Worry Symbol third on the outside of Kingston Town, 3 deep, Pagal around Desper and Justice Steel. Then Sunstone, they're starting to pack up. Golden Black further back in the field. Chivalry got cluttered up near the fence. He's in bother coming to the corner. Salamander's about to take off, and Our Cavalier went back to the tail with Chivalry. About to swing for home, 450 to go, and the leader, Double Century, is nicely clear as they turn, led by a length and a half to Kingston Town, who's poised to challenge now. They've quickly booted clear of Worry Symbol, followed by Justice Steel, Pagal and Salamander, but it's the famous Kingston Town acceleration as he went past Double Century in one stride. Kingston Town with an explosive turn of speed is race clear, and the Tancred Stakes is all all over. Look at him go. He's a champion from head to toe. Kingston Town wins with his ears pricked by 4 lengths to double century. A neck away third.
Then the AJC Derby, another procession.
So with 1,200 to go, it's Polo Player leading a length to Kingston Town. It looks as though he's hit the rail at some stage of the proceedings up to date. 3/4 of a length away in third place came Red Kilton, a half on the outside to River Door. Then Mr. Independent in the centre as the pace quickens, and behind them Prince Ruling. On the outside next is Farewell Chime, then a length to Shogun with High Mystery making a move. Big Print lost his position, has now pulled about 4 wide to make ground, and Elderina after leading has gone back to last with Brindisi. They've got 700 to go in the Derby, and Polo Player on the inside led a neck to Kingston Town, and 3/4 of a length further back River Door. A little over a length further off Red Kilt on the rails for Mr. Independent on the outside. Then a length to Shogun with Big Prince starting a run out wide as they head for home, and then Prince Ruling. Turning into the straight, and Polo Player and Kingston Town the joint leaders from River Door on the outside. About a length and a half further back Shogun with Big Prince pulled out wide to make a run. Kingston Town dashed clear over the rise, however. In second place is Shogun from Polo Player. Big Prince can't go on, but Kingston Town has careered away now, and Kingston Town's got the Derby won. Running into second place, Mr. Independent. Shogun battling it out with River Door for third, but Kingston Town breezes in by 3.5 lengths. Second is Mr. Independent.
And finally, that unforgettable Sydney Cup.
Well, and he's going to ride him over, apparently, to try to get him close to the fence. Kingston Town won the start clearly and is coming across the front of the field, and he's going to be on the rails inside 100 metres. Double century.
Looking back, you could say the Sydney Cup was an enormous thrill because a number of people, including some very knowledgeable horse people, said that he couldn't possibly run 2 miles and he couldn't run the Sydney, he couldn't win the Sydney Cup.
Grey Affair with March the Glory third last, Play the Game last, and Fabuloso next to last. Better Buy It last is in front, and with 1,200 to go had an advantage of a half length, but Kingston Town's gone up within 3/4 of a length of him shortly afterwards. A length and a half to double.
He came from the outside barrier. He led the first furlong. I got into one off the fence, running about 5th off the bit in a 2-mile race. And there was a little bit of trouble around the back, and I remember I got shuffled back to about 7th or 8th, and I just kicked up, give him a kick in the belly, and went round 4 or 5 horses in a twinkling of an eye. Just like that, I went round him and just parked outside the leader again. And when I said, "Woo, boy," he just come back underneath me. That's what sort of horse he was. You could start, stop 3 or 4 times in a race, and he was the easiest horse in the world to ride.
Making a bit of ground, and then Desperate Grey Affair on the bend for home, and the leaders are Kingston Town, who's moved up and now joined and headed Better Buy. In third place, Worry Symbol, Double Century coming home well, and they were followed by Sharman at the head of the others. Then on the outside, Fabuloso. Kingston Town shot away with 250 to go. Double Century second from Marlborough. Fabuloso on the outside, and then March the Glory. But Kingston Town is going to win the Sydney Cup in a walk. He's 5 lengths in front coming to the line, and Double Century bolts in, scoring by 3.5 lengths. Kingston Town bolts in from Double Century.
Well, at that time of his career, he was the most outstanding racehorse I'd ever seen in my life. He was the most outstanding racehorse that I'll ever ride in my life, and he's a jockey's dream to have a great horse like him, just to ride. And at that stage, he was just he was an unbelievable horse.
The King went to Brisbane for the winter. He was feeling his racing, but took the Grand Prix and the Derby there.
And in a few bounds, up goes Kingston Town. Kingston Town races up, takes the lead from Red Kilter. Star Dynasty's well beaten. Now Kingston Town, Johnston is niggling him away, and away he goes, and it's all over. Kingston Town wins the Grand Prix Stakes, and there's still 50 metres to go. A very, very easy win. Kingston Town about 3 lengths to Red Kilt. And
he'd had a very hard campaign leading up to the Queensland Derby. And he went up to Queensland, and he just never had the spark that you've seen him here with when he won the Tancred and the Sydney Cup. He'd lost a little bit of that dash. He'd never lost any fight. He was certainly a fighter, but he just lost a little bit of dash because he'd had a hard campaign, and he was just at the end of his tether. He was looking forward to having a bit of a spell.
Prince Ruling going well in front, only a head in front of Kingston Town. He's striding well too. 2 lengths farther back, Golden in. Red Kilda's moved forward, and last of all, Star Dynasty approaching the home turn. Prince Ruling the leader, a head in front of Kingston Town. Red Kilda's moved into 3rd place. Behind him, Star Dynasty into the straight, 400 metres to go. Kingston Town has now gone to the lead. Red Kilt battling on fairly well. Kingston Town is having a bit of a race. Johnson has drawn the whip to flick at him. Kingston Town in front of Red Kilt, followed by Star Dynasty. Kingston Town the leader. He's having a bit of a hard run. Johnson looked round on the right side, flicked him with a whip, and he's still holding his ground in front of Kingston Town. Drew away now. Kingston Town drew away and won by about 3 lengths to Red Kilt. 3rd is close between Golden and Prince Ruling.
The King went for a short spell. On his 3rd preparation, he'd won 8 straight. He'd now won a dozen straight in Sydney. No one was arguing. He was the champion of Australia. It was the briefest of spells. Less than 3 months after his Derby win in Brisbane, Kingston Town stepped out for the first time as a 4-year-old in that good horses race, the Warwick Stakes at Randwick. The Black made good time. And he made good time again in the Chelmsford.
On the bend for home, Kiam, headed by Ming Dynasty, is about a neck in front of him. A length and 3/4 away, Kingston Town about to be eased to the outside of the 2 leaders, and he cruised up to them immediately, and 4 lengths away in last place, Argyle Morgan under the whip. Over the rise, and Kingston Town went to the lead without effort from Ming Dynasty, about 3 parts of a length in front of him. Now being ridden along, he's increased his lead to 2.5 lengths from Ming Dynasty. Argyle Morgan is running to 3rd place, so the favourite trifecta will arrive. Kingston Town coming right away in the closing stages, and cruises to the line to win by 4 lengths. Ming Dynasty.
2 weeks later, the STC Cup made it 15 straight wins in Sydney.
A tendency to jump outwards at the start. He might have even contacted Alvaro Boy momentarily. Now there he is out in the middle of the track, and Johnston seems in 2 minds at the moment. He doesn't know whether to cruise to the lead or ease back. He can't ease back now. They've got him out 3 deep, and he's on the outside of Ming Dynasty and Argyle Morgan as they greet the judge with a lap of the track to go. Now Princely Summers running 4th on the outside of Golden Black, who's in a forward position, and then Brindisi over the ocean, Tundoon, Sovita, Alvaro Boy 2nd last, and Hermon is last and pulling double as they leave the straight. Over the crossing, past the 800, Ming Dynasty and Argyle Morgan, a length and a half to Kingston Town. Brindisi running 4th, Hermon moving up but off the track. Further back came Over the Ocean, and then Tundoon, Alvaro Boy taking off. Now he'll have to go very deep. Golden Black 2nd last with Sovita last, and Princely Sum has broken down. Around the turn at the 450 mark, Ming Dynasty just the leader from Argyle Morgan. Kingston Town is easing out 3 deep, and Johnston hasn't breathed on him as yet. Behind them Over the Ocean, followed by Golden Black. In the straight 300 out, and the champ has quickly ranged up now to head off Ming Dynasty, and Kingston Town breezes to the lead at the 200. Johnston's going to give him as easy a run as possible. He quickly raced clear of Over the Ocean, Ming Dynasty and Brindisi. They're all struggling, but to the line he goes at 3/4 pace, pricks his ears and says, "Got that." Kingston Town by a length and a half.
Again, he journeyed to Melbourne for the spring. Again, there were big black headlines. But this time, Melbourne was more careful. Sure, he's good, they said. Maybe he's great. But could he handle the Melbourne way? The Caulfield Stakes and the Caulfield Cup showed the King to be more of a pro than the year before, but he was still lengths slower than Sydney. The riddle lingered until the Cox Plate, whose winners list is virtually the roll call of all the great horses generation after generation. And you know, there were 2 clues to be seen down at stall 91 before the race. Kingston Town just stood there, a portrait of relaxation. And Tommy Smith was wearing the most glowing of smiles, almost as though he knew the riddle had been solved and everything would be all right.
Actually, Moonee Valley being a short straight, he's always never had the best of runs in those races. Mostly was jammed up a bit, but he was just too good for those horses that day.
Kingston Town, the great professional, literally skated around the beautifully cambered Valley Circuit. You'll see him dip once just before the turn, but that's about all he did wrong.
Racing. Sovereign Red away quickly, so was Torbeck going immediately to the lead. Kingston Town didn't begin all that well. Prince Ruling's going very fast. Settling down at the judges' box now, and Torbeck in front of Prince Ruling, and out wider is our Paddy Boy, Sovereign Red 4th. Kingston Town's outside him. Family of Man got cut off on the rails from Glenson and Yurtiz wide. Then Palaban from My Blue Denim, a couple of lengths to Ming Dynasty. Then Tasman, White Tangaroo and Tolhurst. Our Paddy Boy, a surprise.
On the Thursday and the Tuesday, before the Cox Plate, he worked at Moonee Valley, and he worked very, very well. So I thought, well, this little tight circuit just might suit him, and suit him it did. He just ran away with the Cox Plate. He won by 4 lengths, and I remember it was one of the biggest thrills I ever had in my life, just for the horse, and also for me. I enjoyed winning the Cox Plate, but because of he had so many critics.
To Tolhurst, still going berserk. Then Palaban, Waitangarua, Tasman and Ming Dynasty last. At the 1,000, and the leader, our Paddy Boy, went out 1.5 lengths now to Prince Ruling. Third, Torbeck on the rails, but here are the runs. They've got to let some of these go. Yurtiz and Tolhurst have gone quickly around them from Glenson. Sovereign Red's got pushed back along the rails. Kingston Town's gone up about 6th. Then Family of Man, Waitangarua to the outside from Palaban, My Blue Denim and Ming Dynasty last. Up by the 600, Yurtiz and our Paddy Boy with Prince Ruling a line of 3. Kingston Town went up easily to be 2.5 lengths away 4th. They were followed then by Family of Man. Sovereign Red's got pushed right out of it. He's not in the race. At the 400, and it's our Paddy Boy, Prince Ruling and Yurtiz, but Kingston Town's cantering. We're going to see the real one today. Then 3 lengths wide, Tangaroo running on well from Family of Man. On the turn, and Kingston Town cruised up to our Paddy Boy, took the lead. In the centre, Prince Ruling, and then Yurtiz and Waitangarua. But the real Kingston Town's going to street them, and Kingston Town's gone on to win by 4 lengths. Second, Prince Ruling, our Paddy Boy third, a nose to Waitangarua. The hoodoo was broken. It was a crack field. 14 runners went to the post, and between them they'd won $2.8 million. The King beat them, and by 5 lengths, and going the wrong way. The win left the King just $75,000 short of $1 million in stakes. But after the triumph, heartbreak. In winning, the horse had badly injured his off-suspensory. He would not race for another 10 months. This is Balnarring Beach, just a few miles from Kingston Park. Behind me, Westernport Bay. In the distance, you can see Phillip Island. It's the dawn's high tide, and out there, working his way over the rocky bottom, and as you can see, loving it, is the horse who is among the dozen greatest stake winners the world has ever known. We shot this film just before the King headed off on the longest comeback trail of all, to California. But since that Cox Plate injury, this water, these tranquil dawns have been Kingston Town's therapy. Sometimes he trots on the sand. Sometimes, as he's doing now, he wades against the swirls of the dawn tide. Then there's a row, and you need to get that saddle off fast. Twice now, after 2 suspensory injuries, this path, plus lots of attention at Kingston Park, has led to fresh glory.
And Bill's Heritage and Lady Splendid are both burning turf in front.
The suspensory healed, but the leg would never really be the same again. The King returned in the Premier Stakes at Rose Hill in August 1981.
A long gap to Insignia, run off his feet, followed by More Mink and Tsar Royal, and last Rio de Janeiro. Johnson had no hesitation in letting Kingston Town go 4 and 5 deep on the corner. Prince Ruling is going with him though, and as they turn the corner, Gorham led momentarily, but Prince Ruling and Kingston Town have grabbed him quickly. Kingston Town on the outside got the head in front of Prince Ruling, coming to the 200. Johnston trying to give him an easy run. He's about 3/4 of a length in front. Now he's starting to draw clear, and it's the Town. Kingston Town is going to win with his ears pricked. More Mink got very close to him. Oh, Johnston eased up on Kingston Town and almost threw it away.
A week later, he took the Warwick again.
With about 900 to go, and Lord of Persia just the leader there from Prince Ruling, with Al's Gamble going up 3 wide in a crawling race. 3 parts of a length away then is Checkmate on the outside of Belmura Lad. Johnson has eased Kingston Town back about 2 lengths behind those. When they quickened the pace, he lost some ground there, and last approaching the home turn, Prince Ferrishar. On the bend for home, Al's Gamble wide out had joined Prince Ruling and Lord of Persia. Just behind them, Belmura Lad, Checkmate, and a length and a half to Kingston Town, and a half to Prince Ferrishar. Coming up the rise now, with about 300 to go. Prince Ruling is just the leader there from Belmura Lad. Kingston Town being set alight on the outside, behind them followed by Al's Gamble. Belmura Lad is the leader. Kingston Town wearing him down, draws level almost. Belmura Lad's fighting back well. Kingston Town gets to Belmura Lad, takes about a head lead. Kingston Town drawing away, hard ridden, but comes on to win 3 parts of a length, only a half at the post. Kingston Town from Belmura.
2 weeks later, it was the Chelmsford again.
Gennaro, one of the stablemates of Kingston Town, is putting pressure to Sutimi. About 3 lengths to Kingston Town, and the last couple are Belmura Lad and Granite King. In this pattern, they travel to the side of the track, 900 metres out, and Rio de Janeiro on the outside takes a narrow lead from Sutimi, and about 4 away Kingston Town. Granite King's on his inside, and Belmura Lad's out 3 deep. 800 metres to go, and they've travelled more than halfway, and Rio de Janeiro a half length on Sutimi. 2 lengths to Belmura Lad, a length to Kingston Town, and Johnston riding patiently, and 2 lengths to Granite King with his ears scrubbed off. 550 out on the Chelmsford as they swing for home, and Rio de Janeiro by a length and a half on Sutimi, a length and a quarter Belmura Lad, and he's taking Kingston Town to the extreme outside to put in his run, and Granite King is absolute. On top of the rise, here's Kingston Town. Oh, brother, the acceleration's there today, and Kingston Town swept to the lead. Belmura Lad second, and then Sutimi, followed by Granite King and Rio de Janeiro. He has that inclination to duck over onto the inside rail, Kingston Town. Johnston riding him hands and heels. He's a length and a half on Belmura Lad and Granite King. Kingston Town is safely holding his rivals. Belmura Lad second and Granite King third, and that's the way they complete.
Next start, a piece of turf history. In the STC Cup, he became the first horse to earn $1 million in stakes in Australia. Bert Lilly, racing editor of the Sydney Morning Herald.
As a matter of fact, it was a funny coincidence that he'd have been $55 short of the $1 million if somebody hadn't woken up at the STC and they added enough prize money to make it the $1 million. It was good promotion, and he got the $1 million. He got it very easily. He beat Al's Gamble, a stablemate, and Lord Warden. He'd have beat them both hind legs tied up. But it was still a thrill for the crowd. I think he started about 8 to 1 on, but they loved it. They didn't go to back him, they went to cheer him.
Kingston Town actually came out first. Sutimi on the inside going with him early. Johnson's got a good hold of Kingston Town. Banks is going to lead on Sutimi by the look of it, and going up second, Al's Gamble in the centre. Lord Warden posting Kingston Town 4 wide, and 2 lengths away in last place, Our Own. Now they settle down in 2-2s at the poster circuit to go. Sutimi pulling very hard in front, led ahead to Al's Gamble. 3 lengths away third is Lord Warden, and a neck off on the outside Kingston Town, and 2 lengths away in last place is Our Own. Coming up to the next bend at the 900, Al's Gamble the leader by a length and a quarter to Sutimi, a length and a half to Lord Warden. Still about a head away on the outside, Kingston Town keeping company with him, and 2 lengths to Our Own as they come onto the side of the 800. Al's Gamble led there from Sutimi by a length, with Johnston taking Kingston Town up on the outside of Sutimi to be about 3 parts of a length behind him. A length and a half away next then came Lord Warden, and last is Our Own, starting to tail out as they come to the turn. Kingston Town's taken the lead on the bend. He's still under restraint, leading narrowly from Al's Gamble, a little over a length further back Sutimi and Lord Warden together. Kingston Town turns just in front from Al's Gamble. In third place on the outside is Lord Warden. Kingston Town being ridden hard but quickly established a break at the 250. Lord Warden ran into second place, and then Al's Gamble, but Kingston Town over on the inside is streaking away in the last bit. He's been given a couple of hard cuts with the whip. He led by about 3 lengths at the 100 from Lord Warden, with Al's Gamble third. And the 6 figures roll over for Kingston Town as he wins it by 3 lengths. Second is Lord Warden, 4 lengths away third, Al's Gamble, fourth Sutimi.
What manner of horse was this who was now a 4-legged headline, a national celebrity? And of course, we can't make the judgments on money won alone. Allowing for the inflation of stakes, Farlap and Tulloch would have made the Millionaires Club. It's more sensible perhaps to forget the money and look at the horse. He could make 3 runs in a race, stopping and starting, and still win. He could run 6 furlongs in better than 1:10, and he could stretch that speed to 2 miles. The speed, the alertness, the quickness with which he comes to hand in training, the toughness, these are the classic Star Kingdom traits, one for Bletchingley. But then he's the image of Mum. Head, ears, jowls, the whole front down to the small hoofs. And Ada Hunter, though she never raced, carries the tough staying blood of Rebo.
And he was Tom Smith's idea of a horse. He had pace, could be made use of coming to the turn and then dash clear. That's the way Tommy likes to win his races.
But he had so much personality, and he had class written all over him. He was just a phenomenal racehorse. A lot of real good horses have got something missing. But this horse, he had everything. Everything that I could possibly think of. He was just 50 horses I'd ridden, 50 good horses I'd ridden, all rolled into one. He just had absolutely everything.
Well, he fell in love with him. But every jockey that ever been on Kingston Town used to come back and say, this horse is a real machine.
He had personality plus. He was like probably Muhammad Ali when he was at his best. He had personality. Some people didn't like him, but if you were a true sports addict, you love Muhammad Ali because of his brilliance in the ring and his brilliance out of the ring. You know, he was a showman. He was a great showman. And that's how I feel Kingston Town was. He was a phenomenal racehorse, and when the races were on, all he wanted to be was a racehorse. But then, when the races were finished and the crowd had just come to life, well, he'd know he'd done his best, and he'd know that all the ovation and everything were for him. And he'd prick his ears, and he'd prance around and dance around. And he was a showman. He used to respond to the crowd. He used to stand there at the gate to come in, and he used to just prick his ears and look up at the stand. And you know, he had a lot of feeling, and he loved crowds, and he loved racing.
Well, I don't think it was very much between him and Tulloch. I never thought I'd have a horse could ever match stride with Tulloch, but by Jove, it's hard to separate these two great horses.
But deeds speak better than words. And at his next run, one of his finest, Kingston Town gave a dimension to just about all the things we've been talking about. He came back from the 1.5 miles of the STC Cup to the mile of the George Main 2 weeks later. He won in 1:34.3, a champion miler's time, a world-class time.
And travelling towards the 1200, jump and pin the despised Ruffy, a length and a quarter Kingston Town, 1.5 hour Paddy Boy, a half Mysarave on the outside, a length of Arbogast, a half and he's outside Night Sophia, and then Prince Ferrashar racing alongside Red Nose. The speeders muddling on the far corner near the 950 and jump and pin a length on Kingston Town, a length and a half to our Paddy Boy on the inside of Mysarave on about a length and a half's gap to Arbogast on the inside rail, over Night Sophia and a couple to Red Nose and Prince Ferrashar. No change in the pattern past the 800, the field of 8 almost in pairs with jump and pin making play. 3/4 of a length on Kingston Town, a length and a quarter then to our Paddy Boy, who's pegged in a pocket inside the former New Zealander Mysarave on from Night Sophia, Arbogast next from Prince Ferrashar, and Red Nose is last. The rider on jump and pin is quickening up as they swing now. Jump and pin 3/4 of a length on Kingston Town. Our Paddy Boy on the rail and then Night Sophia, but Kingston Town's taken the lead at the 300. Our Paddy Boy in a firm pocket and Kingston Town strode clear. 2:50 to go. Johnston has a quick peep round. He shakes up the champ. Away he goes. Our Paddy Boy getting out, followed by Arbogast, but it's Kingston Town. 2.5 to 3 lengths on Arbogast, finishing well, but not well enough. And the champ Kingston Town makes it 20 successive Sydney wins. Kingston Town from Arbogast and our Paddy Boy. Then came jump and pin.
He came south again and won the Caulfield Stakes.
They're racing up with about 1,200 metres left to go in Kingston Town in a slowly run race by a half length to Moist, a length and a half Sovereign Red. On the outside of Hyperno, 2 lengths to Lawman as they race onto the railway side of the track, and 2 lengths to R1. Just over 1,000 metres left to go in Kingston Town, almost joined by Moist, 2 lengths to Sovereign Red, and on the inside there was Hyperno, a length and a half. Next to last is Lawman, and R1 is last of all. 900 metres left to go. Kingston Town, Moist together, a length and a half Sovereign Red on the outside of Hyperno, close behind them Lawman, and a length and a half to R1. 700 metres left to go. Kingston Town about a head to Moist, a length and a half then Sovereign Red. They're followed by Hyperno, a length further back to Lawman, and R1 is last of all, about 5 lengths off the leader. 600 metres left to go. Kingston Town, Moist together, 1.5 in advance of Sovereign Red going up on the outside, 3 deep, and just behind them Lawman starting to sprint. Hyperno is blocked away on the fence behind them, and R1 is taking off, and Lawman got threaded back badly and dropped out to last as they make the turn. Kingston Town tackled by Sovereign Red on the outside. Sovereign Red on the outside. Kingston Town is fighting back with just over 200 metres left to go. Kingston Town on the inside and Sovereign Red. Kingston Town about a neck in front of Sovereign Red. Kingston Town a half length now, a length. Kingston Town in front. Sovereign Red weakening. Kingston Town the champion, too good. Kingston Town won it by over a length for Sovereign Red. 2 lengths away, third Hyperno.
Then an amazing victory in the Cox Plate after being hopelessly snookered. It was beautiful theatre, this race. Kingston Town perhaps got too good a position early. When Quinton finally brought him out, the black rolled around a bit, but from that instant he was always going to win. It was the race of the spring.
Racing, Prince Ruling first out from Kingston Town, Bin Vinger away well from Sovereign Red, Coiro Trelay decked the halls. then Fearless Pride, Silver Bounty, Lawman, and last Belmura Lad, and jockeys are trying to get position.
And, it was pretty heartbreaking not to ride a great horse like that due to just a suspension and a fair kick in the pants for me to be off his back, but I was still proud of the horse and I was delighted that he won. I didn't feel any I felt disappointment that I wasn't on him, but I still felt proud for the horse.
The inside from Lawman, who can't get on the track and is pulling. Next Silver Bounty, Coiro Trelay, and last of all Belmura Lad, but only 7 lengths off the lead. 1300 out and Prince Ruling still led a little over a length to Bin Binga. Kingston Town tucked in on the rails 3 parts away and keeping him in a pocket at his girth is Sovereign Red. Wonder Lawman the outside from Deck the Halls, Fearless Pride in the centre. Silver Bounty is pulling very hard next, being eased well away from the fence from Belmura Lad and Coiro Trelay, and still only 6 lengths covered them. At the 1,000, Prince Ruling 3 parts to Bin Binga, a length and a quarter Kingston Town the rails. Lawman's now moved up to help put him in a pocket with Sovereign Red in the centre.
He was boxed in for a good deal of the way, and I didn't think he could possibly get out in time, so I didn't expect to win that.
500, Bin Binga took the lead now from Prince Ruling. Lawman out 3 deep, and Kingston Town is pocketed at the moment in the centre. Then Silver Bounty from Sovereign Red and Deck the Halls and Fearless Pride. Up by the 500, Bin Binga joined by Lawman. On the rails, Prince Ruling from Silver Bounty. Quinton's in trouble on Kingston Town. He's trying to find somewhere to go. They're followed by Sovereign Red. He's not responding, Kingston Town. On the turn, it's Bin Binga from Lawman. 2 lengths to Kingston Town. Now getting out from Silver Bounty. Kingston Town's got out. He's pulled the whip on him, tackling Lawman quickly. Kingston Town raced to Lawman from Silver Bounty. It's Kingston Town, Lawman in front. Kingston Town wearing him down. He'll win. The $1 Million Man's won it. Kingston Town a half length to Lawman. Bin Binga a close third from Silver Bounty.
Now the King was not just a super horse, but the rage for the race that is the pinnacle of the spring, the Melbourne Cup. But the signs that something were wrong were there in the McKinnon when Belmura Lad beat him. They were there in the mounting yard on Cup Day. The King looked dull in the coat. He finished nearly last. Again, he had foreleg troubles. It was back to Balnarring Beach, back to the healing waters, back to the peace of Kingston Park, and back to his paddock mate, the country winner, Drew Away. Again, he was away from racecourses for 10 months. Again, he resumed in the Warwick. Again, he won. Now he had won 21 straight in Sydney. But the sequence ended there. The King then ran 4th in the Chelmsford and was an unlucky 2nd in the Hill Stakes. Kingston Town then won the George Main again.
Sire Royal, but I don't think he'll do that. Yes, no, he's had to go to the outside of Sire Royal, and Nordic Prince was last. 600 out, and the leader is still Northern Reward, about a neck in front of Kingston Town, the link to Sire Royal. On the outside, Honey Glow 3 horses wide, and splitting them is Grey Receiver and a link to Nordic Prince. Turning for home, Northern Reward is just the leader from Kingston Town with Honey Glow on the outside. Sire Royal is looking for a run on the rails behind those, and then came Grey Receiver. Up the rise, and Kingston Town got level with Northern Reward, who's showing plenty of fight. They're almost together at the 200. Kingston Town is flat to the boards. Northern Reward on his inside is going nearly as well. Kingston Town got ahead in front. Northern Reward trying to go with him. It's Kingston Town and Northern Reward head and head. Kingston Town ahead in front, and Kingston Town wins about a long head or a half neck.
But down in Melbourne, students of form watched the telecast of the Sydney Spring and began to say Kingston Town was past it. He seemed to have lost that wondrous dash, they said. He was winning on class and heart. He wouldn't be a force down south this year. Wrong again. The King took the Caulfield Stakes and again went into the race of champions, the Cox Plate.
Racing. Fought them pretty well. English Wonder dropped out. Lawman and Deb's Mate collided after the start. Both began okay, and My Axman's the early leader in the centre. From LA Bajou and Fearless Pride, Thompson's going up to head them off and get to the rails. Magari's 4th, Deb's Mate trapped wide with no pair keeping it out, and Kingston Town's about 7th. Then came Grosvenor. Lawman pushed right off the track by rare form. 2 lengths to Isle of Man, and then Gurner's Lane, English Wonder, Silver Bounty.
The few horses who have won 2 Cox Plates were all champions. No horse had won 3. Even a furlong out in 1982, few thought Kingston Town had any chance of making it 3. You see, those who said Kingston Town had lost his dash were perhaps half right. He'd lost much of his early speed. No sooner were they running in the Cox Plate than Peter Cook was niggling at the King. He niggled all the way. But if the King had lost his early brilliance, he still had something more important. he knew where the post was. Watch him claw at the ground, and watch Peter Cook. 50 yards out, he knows he's got it.
3 parts Fearless Pride, 1.5 lengths my Axeman outside L.A. Bijou. 1 length then to Lawman. Higgins can't get him on the track. He was followed then by Kingston Town and No Peer the Rails, 1.5 lengths Grosvenor and Rare Form. They're followed by Magari, Hard Ridden, and then 1 length Gurner's Lane, Isle of Man, English Wonder, Silver Bounty. 600 out and Fearless Pride went up the Deb's mate and took a narrow lead. My Axeman immediately made his run on the outside from L.A. Bijou and Lawman. Grosvenor trying to find his way through is Grosvenor with Kingston Town, Hard Ridden. Then Gurner's Lane around the outside from No Peer and Magari, Isle of Man. On the turn, 500 out, Fearless Pride and My Axeman together. 1.5 lengths Lawman. Kingston Town can't win. Then L.A. Bijou and the 3-year-old Grosvenor running on. My Axeman took the lead from Fearless Pride. Grosvenor coming down the outside is after them. My Axeman in front. Grosvenor and Kingston Town flashing. He might win yet, the champ. Grosvenor took the lead. Oh, Kingston Town swamping them. What a run. Kingston Town wins it next to Grosvenor. My Axeman third, fourth Fearless Pride.
Scenes of mass euphoria followed. It was a piece of racing magic. People would talk about the day years on because in 40 minutes, Manikato was also to do something special. Some say it was the King's finest race. But which race do you pick with a champion like this? He was great in the Sydney Cup. He was great in so many victories. But some will say his greatest race was a defeat in the 1982 Melbourne Cup. In the race, the King was so relaxed he was being slapped with the whip in the straight the first time. But in the final straight, it was the great professional, head down, looking for the winning post.
I've still got disappointments about the Melbourne Cup because, you know, I wasn't disappointed with the way I rode him. A lot of people said I went too quick. Maybe I went too quick, but I never spent a penny right up to the 3. I was running 5th or 6th on the fence all the way. I had to go around a few slow ones, and when you're on a horse like Kingston Town, you can't sit back on the fence. I don't believe you can sit back on the fence and hope the runs come. On him, I've had so much success making my own luck on him. It's won him more races than it's cost him.
Full march to the centre. Here's Astralin coming into it and Port Carling getting out. Noble Comment and Kingston Town is under the whip of the leaders. Coming up them on the outside now is Avon Valley. Next is Astralin and Port Carling. Kingston Town in front of the 200. A length to Noble Comment. Gurner's Lane getting a split now. Kingston Town in front. Gurner's Lane flying on the inside. He's coming home like a train. Kingston Town joined by Gurner's Lane, and Gurner's Lane gets up to win the Cup. And next to Kingston Town. Third Noble Comment from my Sir Avon Bianco lady. Then Wellington Road, Port Carling.
It was all anticlimactic. Kingston Town's connections, and apparently many others on the course, thought he'd won. And there were and remain a flood of speculations, such as, did he go to the front too soon? But if Malcolm Johnson had got there, he would have been hailed as a genius. Such questions will nag so long as people talk about Melbourne Cups. But in a way, Kingston Town's last run in Perth's Western Mail Classic was a lovely way to remember him.
Reckoned Orbital Lady at the 450.
He did it hard, ridden with the whip before the turn. But isn't this a way to remember him? Stretching for the line, desperate to win. The great professional.
Out wide McAlfee for home. Down to the 100 and 200 they come. And Rare Flyer joined by Kingston Town on the outside. Getting closer behind them. Cheeky Trot, Grosvenor and McAlfee. Kingston Town getting closer and Rare Flyer. Kingston Town ahead in front. Getting closer, fighting back. But the champion's got it won. Kingston Town by a length over.
That one was for courage. It brought up 30 wins for $1.6 million. How will we remember him?
As a 3-year-old, he probably would have won an English Derby. I'm not saying he would have won a Kentucky Derby. It's a different race altogether. He certainly would have won the Japan Cup. I was there to see it, the last one. He would have won easily.
Oh, in his prime, at his peak, I don't think there was a better horse in the world. You know, I saw John Henry race in America, who is the world's leading money winner. I was lucky enough to see Spectacular Bid run. But really, at his top, I think he was comparable to any horse that I've seen race anywhere in the world.
I've got to rank him as one of the best horses I've ever seen.
Well, I don't think it was very much between him and Tulloch. I never thought I'd have a horse could ever match stride with Tulloch, but by Jazz, it's hard to separate these two great horses.
The horse himself represented all the courage and all the greatness that you could ever expect from a racehorse. And for that reason, the feeling of affection for him and respect for him never was changed, irrespective of whether he won or lost.
You know, he was just he was a freak. That's all he was to it.
In a way, we can thank the first horse Haynes bred for the king.
If Kingston Bid hadn't succeeded, we'd have had no reason to go on. I think the reason we went on was because when we bred that filly, we never really thought that we could breed a horse that could win.
We have Kingston Bid and a golf course to thank for this.
Everyone promises to deliver your parcel door to door overnight, just like Ansett Air Freight. But not everyone has the amazing ability to pick up and fly your parcel. Ansett Air Freight has its own trucks and planes to make sure your parcel gets where it's going. So while everyone else is still trying to figure out how to get it there, we've probably already landed. Ansett Air Freight. While they're promising, we're delivering.
Noisy, isn't it? Doesn't quite fit your average studmaster's description of good horse country. We're at bus stop 21 at Campbelltown, about 5 miles from the heart of Adelaide. If Kingston Town was conceived, figuratively anyway, on a golf course, Manikato was a suburban horse. He ran with his mother behind the sandstone elegance of Dura, the home of his breeder, retired Adelaide retailer, Mr. Ross Truscott. Ross Truscott loves the land, still loves to get on a horse, to dabble with a yearling. He's a man who prefers being around horses, doing things with them, rather than watching them. He's seen his champion race once, and Manikato lost. He doesn't talk about Manikato's wins. As a horseman, what impresses him most is Bob Hoysted's handling of the horse, the adroit use of the kid glove. Truscott prepared the chestnut colt in these whitewashed stables behind a century-old coach house. They'd make a fine set for robbery under arms, wouldn't they? Truscott says his chestnut was a quiet and sensible colt. And this is the paddock in which he did most of his growing up, overlooked incredibly by cream brick veneers. From his mother, the natural bid mare Manikato, who couldn't win a bush race, little Manikato received a nasty initiation to the world. The fine-boned mare's a loner, foal-proud. When Manikato wouldn't come alongside, she savaged him on the neck and he had to be stitched. Ross Truscott bought her for around $1,400. And without being unkind to the lady, you'd have to say that looking at this bay mare and at her record on the track, there's hardly a clue to the greatness of her son. But here's the clue, the massive clue to all that brilliance, all the fiery courage that is Manikato. Yes, Manahai, the willful chestnut who we saw win the 1968 Newmarket at Flemington. Look at the big front. Look at the colour, the style of him. Look at those legs, the knees spotted with firing marks, the smashed sesamoids in the near fore. He's nearly 20 years old. Is he worried by his age? All those proppy legs? Look at him. Isn't he all courage, all horse? Just like his sire, the grand Australian stallion Matrice, whose grave is a stone's throw from Manahai's box. The old Wayville Stables, for half a century one of Australia's great thoroughbred selling centres. Most of those speedy coronation boys walked from these boxes to the sale ring. Now it's disused, cobwebbed with history. Ross Truscott floated his one sales yearling here in February 1977, thinking he might get close to $10,000. To the same sale came Bob Hoysted from Melbourne, with an instruction from his brother Bon to look at lot 387. Bon had won one race with a Red God filly out of Manikato, and the filly's owner, Melbourne businessman Mel Sackle, was interested in the half-brother by Manahai.
The Great Ace Queen was. You remember her running second in the VRC Oaks. She won the South Australian Oaks, and of course she lost the sensational Australian Derby on protest.
The thing Bon asked me to look at was if he had any fox. If he'd said to me, if you like him, buy him, I certainly wouldn't. But his request was if there's nothing wrong with him to buy him. So I went ahead and asked Lee McKeon, looked at the horse with Lee, and I couldn't see one thing wrong with him, but there was very little to like about him. Anyway, everybody else in the Adelaide sales agreed with our judgment, I think, of the horse, and there was very little bidding for him.
Chris Coles auctioned the Truscott colt.
I remember the day very well indeed. It was 103 degrees on the old scale, or 40 degrees centigrade. A big crowd in attendance, and it was a great day selling. It was on a Tuesday, and in the afternoon Manikato came into the sale ring. I remember it well. He was a good, strong-looking horse, and I do remember at the time making a note that he only made $3,500. And I thought for a Manor High, bred the way he was and with the success of Manor High as being a stallion, that this horse would have made a lot more money. So I was quite surprised when he was bought for very good value at $3,500. And in fact, here's his actual stall that we've got here today. So this is where he came from.
All done at $3,500. Done. Sold.
And Bonnie Hoisted, though he didn't know it, though he hadn't even seen the horse, had his champion. The Dawn Rituals. This is Epsom, the busiest training track in Melbourne. They say that in racing, hope begins at dawn. It begins perhaps with the hoof thuds of a youngster going evens for the first time, snorting great balloons into the morning mist. Hope began here for Manikato in 1977. Hope blossomed. Manikato worked here for 7 years, and from early '78 he was always something special. He was led down that chute onto the track, and always, somewhere, one of the hard-bitten Dawn Brigade would stop tightening a girth or fussing over a rug and say, just as though royalty had brushed him, "That's Manikato." They didn't say, "That's Manikato," when the buff-headed baby first came across from the Adelaide sales. The horse was so lacking in presence that Mel Seckel, who had always raced horses in partnership, couldn't get a taker for the horse.
He then prevailed upon one of his Sydney friends who hadn't raced a horse previously to come down, and he, not knowing a great deal about horses, said, "Oh yes, it'd be great to race a horse with him, Mel," so he took a half share in him. Unfortunately, some time later, that friend had to bail out of the horse, and Mal had to buy his share back. It was the best day's work Mal ever did.
Ross MacDonald, now a highly successful trainer, for years broke in horses at Epsom and eventually married Bond's daughter, Margaret.
He was an average horse. We tied him up, at the track when we worked him every morning with the others, and he waited for his turn to go home in the float, and there was nothing special about him until the first time we let him run up.
Manikato was just another hopeful in these stables of Bond's until the first time he was allowed to stretch out on the track. Margaret MacDonald.
I think, he knew from his first gallop that he had exceptional ability, and then he came home not long after that and said to Mum, "Well, I've got my champion at last. This is the one I've been waiting for."
Now the last of the major players enters the tale, jockey Gary Willits.
I got there this morning and here's this chestnut horse. He sort of looked, really all out of proportion to me. His head looked too big for his body, and I got on him and rode him work, and he was a beautiful moving horse. And I came in and Bonnie was wrapped in the horse even at this stage. He said, "What do you think of him?" I said, "Well, he's a beautiful mover," but I said, "He seems all out of proportion."
Manikato was being prepared for the early 2-year-old races, but he hurt his back in winning a Flemington trial. He was sent to Mel Seckel's farm, and this might have been a blessing. The horse returned greatly matured. His head was now in proportion to his body, which had grown immensely. Bonnie liked a young horse to get the confidence of a win, so the Chestnut's first start was on the provincial circuit at Cranbourne, on the edge of South Gippsland. John Russell called the race.
And as they round the turn, Manikato has moved up very quickly on the inside to take the lead. He's clear of Nace, a long gap further back as Mimtaz, followed by Surface, and well back to Son of Hazer. But Manikato is travelling like a winner. He's well clear of Nace, halfway down the running. He's got it all parcelled up, and he's run up to the big raps about him. Manikato is coming away for a great win. Manikato, 6 lengths to Nace, 2 lengths away in third place. Super Cavalier followed by...
Manikato's racing career falls neatly into 4 chapters. His bleeding attack in the Galaxy as a 4-year-old might be called the turning point. After that, after a long rest, the next period might be called the great comeback. After the horse's legs began to go, and this was first noticed after the Churnside Stakes in 1981, after that, the horse's last 15 runs might be called doing it on courage. But this first period, the glory of Manikato's 2- and 3-year-old days, when everything was right with the horse, this period, which began at Cranbourne, we might call the great athlete. Yet, after that Cranbourne win, the colt went to Flemington and was beaten. There was an impeccable excuse.
But what happened that day, the outside going was ever so much faster than the inside. and Caraman came up the outside fence. Manikato was along the inside fence, and I'm sure that's the only reason that Caraman beat him that day.
10 days later, Manikato was back at Flemington.
Manikato just in front of the 400 turf rule is the danger. It's moved up very quickly to tackle it, but Manikato's responding and drew a half length in front. Outpaced third under the whip, and they've cleared away from Chef Special, but Manikato's too good for them. Starting to draw away now, drifting off the track, but will win it well. Manikato scored by a length and a quarter. Close for the Miners.
He went into the Blue Diamond, and Bon was just a little bit apprehensive about him being lucky enough to win a Blue Diamond. I think he was, that worried him more than the horse's ability.
It was quite funny. I went out to get on him, and I didn't realise at this time that Bonnie had never won, you know, a big race. I'd always just, you know, Bonnie had been such a great trainer and won so many races. I just sort of assumed, you know, that he would have won plenty of big races, and he was as nervous as one thing. And I walked out and I said, look, I think he's a good thing. And he was 12 to 1, I think. Boy, I'd love to be able to line him up and get 12 to 1 these days on him.
Racing now, and out wide Shannara, Tool and High began well with Bold Gemini. Manikato and Pacifica got away nicely in the centre, and Valley of Georgia hard ridden with Royal Namnan near the rails. Fearless Duke. Silver Vein showing a lot of speed to go up in a handy position. Caledonian Planet's about third last, and Ambassadora back with it. At the 800 metre mark now, and there's a fall. Fearless Duke's lost his rider. And the leader now, Tool and High, about a length in front here of Manikato. Third is Rumpus Room, fourth Pacifica. Then Shannara the outside from Caraman Turf Ruler. A length further back is Silver Vein. Then just landed Ambassadora making some ground from Bold Gemini on the outside. 2 lengths further back, Valley of Georgia, and then came behind them Caledonian Planet, and back with it is Prunella and Well Clear. On the turn, Tool and High joined by Manikato, 2 lengths to Turf Ruler. Pacifica ran right off the track, then Rumpus Room, Ambassadora running on. In the straight, however, and Manikato took the lead from Tool and High there, well clear of Ambassadora. Then Rumpus Room just landed, Turf Ruler and Caraman and Shannara, but Manikato in front, and it's got it well 100 metres to go. Manikato's going on to win by more than 2 lengths to Tool and High. 4 lengths away third, Ambassadora. 4 lengths to Caraman fourth. Then Turf Ruler just landed, Bold Gemini.
And then Bonnie, as I say, at this stage, I hadn't realised, he sort of, you know, hadn't taken us away, and he said, oh, you know, I think we'll stay here. I said, stay here? I said, we're going to go for the Golden Slipper. As I say, Bonnie took a bit of convincing to get him to go to Sydney, and Mel and I worked on him a bit, and then he decided we'd go, and so Bonnie decided that if he came up all right, and we worked him for a while, and he was going all right, and we galloped him, and he galloped well, and then one morning Max put the stores out for us, and he jumped out, and I forget, we had a horse from Sydney down here at the time, and he was quite a handy horse, a very fast horse, and I never saw him in the gallop. I just led him, and he ran, I knew he'd break 48 for the half mile, and it was a stand, and I came back and I had my whip in my hand, and when I saw Bonnie, I just put it and I went, oh, them golden slippers, you know.
Manikato, although he made the turn a little bit awkwardly, straightened up about a neck in front of Black Opaque. 3 lengths away in third place, Jewel Flight, and they were followed by Inventive. Manikato accelerated, he zoomed away. He's 2 in front at the 200 from Black Opaque. Running home pretty well, Jewel Flight, Smoky Jack at the head of the others in Jubilee Walk. Manikato well clear with 100 to go. Smoky Jack coming home well, but he's giving away too much start. The post's going to beat him. Manikato wins it a length and a quarter. Smoky Jack 2 to Jewel Flight.
It was a phenomenal performance. He didn't have much going for him, and he just burst through them, and he made them look second rate.
The Golden Slipper is one of Australia's newer races, not to mention being one of the richest. Sadly, though, few slipper winners seem to go on. Well, Manikato did. He was a champion for another 5 seasons. But the first signs weren't good. After the slipper, he ran unplaced on a heavy track in the AJC Sires before being turned out. And while Manikato was frolicking at Mel Seckle's farm, Bon Hoisted, one of Victorian racing's best-loved characters, died suddenly. Manikato was transferred to Bob Hoisted. His first race for Bob, and his first start as a 3-year-old, was to be that traditional good horses race, the Ascot Vale at Flemington.
Lining into the Ascot Vale Stakes, people kept coming telling me how great Grey Sapphire was and how great the judge was, and my reply was that there's only ever one champion comes out in any one year, and that champion's Manikato. Therefore he'll beat the Judge and Grey Sapphire. And, fortunately for me, Manikato was able to do that. So I got a lot of personal satisfaction that day. And, the horses just continued to give me pleasure all through his racing career.
Behind them is Grey Sapphire, and the Judge can't get on the track at all from Caledonian Planet. Parade dropping back behind them. Caraman's moving up to be about fifth and Avenger behind it. At the 800, it's a good battle for the lead here with Manikato over on the inside, is travelling well. There's not a lot of pace on. Rumpus Room has gone up on the outside to tackle them for the lead and caught Sabre. They were followed then by Caraman, the Judge over on the outside, and Time Mahal, Caledonian Planet and Grey Sapphire in the centre. Manikato just led with Rumpus Room under the whip running second, and then Caraman. He's got a good hold on this leader, then the Judge. They're followed by Grey Sapphire, but at the 400 he let Manikato go. Willits had shot 2.5 in front of Caraman, out after him now. Then the Judge from Rumpus Room. It's still Manikato at the 200, a length to Caraman, pegging him back rapidly. Manikato just in front, Caraman coming at him from the Judge. Willits using the whip on Manikato. He's going to hang on and win. And Manikato 1.5 lengths to Caraman. A length and a quarter third the Judge.
The champ was back. He cut out the 1,200 metres in 1:09.6. Next he came out against all ages and won the Marlborough Cup at Caulfield.
And unfortunately I got suspended at Winnie Valley, and John Stocker got the ride, and I remember it was raining on the morning of that race, and I called in to, went up to the track with Bob, and we had a look at the Caulfield track, and the rain had just made the track faster, and it stopped raining, and he came out, and it was a very smart field, and I remember Johnny just sort of sat back in behind the pace. I think it was Lipman and Heartbalm, I think it was, led the field, and it was a beautiful ride. Heartbalm always had a tendency to lay a little bit, and Johnny just waited on him and got the split, and he just went right away. I think he won by 3 or 4 lengths.
From Crepolox, a length further back, then Galway Bay, then Vice Regal, and next Private Talk. On the turn, Heartbalm, a length and a half, Shannara. Manikato's hanging a length away, a length and a half, Lipman from Quiet Snort, Galway Bay, Crepolox, Vice Regal, the others can't win. Headed by Carlaw. In the straight, Shannara a length in front now from Heartbalm. Manikato's getting the split to tackle it. Then Lipman, Quiet Snort, Galway Bay and Vice Regal, but Manikato dashed to the lead. 100 metres from home, and the champion 3-year-olds racing away. Oh, it's a brilliant victory to Manikato. He's won by 4 lengths to Lipman. Shannara third from Galway Bay, Quiet Snort, Vice Regal.
Then it was into what is still probably the 3-year-old championship of Australia, the Caulfield Guineas.
Manikato made a dive at the front of the stalls, racing now, caught them pretty well.
It was a sensational race for 2 reasons. Manikato in the end won easily and clocked 1:36.6 for the 1,600 metres. But Willits and Gary Murphy on Caraman engaged in a battle of tactics that brought on an unsuccessful protest.
Then getting down by the 600, a horse of Tommy Smith's came up. Mick Marion was riding it, and I still believe to this day that Caraman sort of came out and left room for me to get there, because I just straight away went in there. And then the moment I got there, well, Gary Murphy's not going to give anything away on Caraman, and he attempted to hold me there. Well, unfortunately, it went on for about a good half a furlong or more, and we were just rocking one another. And on the corner, Manikato was going that easy. I just turned his head and gave him a kick, and that was the end of Caraman. But that was the end of me too.
Further back, Jubilee Walk, then Denburn, Comic Cobbler and Career is last. Down to the turn, 600 to go. Grey Sapphire, just a leader. Caraman and Just a Steal around the outside from the Judge. Manikato a length further back, trying to get a run, and then 2 to How Fast and Halberg. On the turn, Grey Sapphire the leader. Caraman tackling him. Manikato trying to push Caraman out of the way there, knocking one another over. Manikato's got clear. Grey Sapphire in front. Manikato coming at him now from Caraman, and then Just a Steal. Manikato got to the leader, 150 to go. He's clear of Caraman, and this great 3-year-old Manikato's coming away to win in a breeze. Manikato goes on to win by 2.5 lengths to Caraman. Third, Halberg from Grey Sapphire.
A few days later, Willits was charged with foul riding.
On the Wednesday, the races were on, and I was just called in the room after the last races, and I actually thought at the time, well, you know, whatever I get, Gary will get the same, and you know, we'll most probably both get a rap over the knuckles. And I just walked in the room and they charged me with foul riding, which I think that was the most shattering thing that's ever happened to me in racing. I just couldn't believe it.
Manikato, the legend was forming. The big chestnut finished his first preparation with Bob hoisted by running second to the giant Always Welcome in the Cravenay at Flemington. In the autumn of 1979, the legend was born. The horse was devastating. He won the first of 5 consecutive William Reeds, the first of 3 consecutive CFOs, the first of 3 consecutive futurities.
He was just absolutely right at his very top. He ran in the Reed Stakes. I told his owner that day he was only about half fit, but he was fit enough to win the race, which he did do.
Away they go. Caught them as one horse out of the stalls too. Manikato didn't begin all that well. He's taking a while to muster speed, but now he's going quickly and is going to try and head them off. And Family of Man dropped out to the rear. Manikato led, settling down a length. The King of the Stars, a half Mellowbrook Dallas Girl. They're already 6 lengths in front of Marceau, 3 to Salamander and a length to Family of Man. Manikato led round the 800 turn. Willits eases, allows King of the Stars to move up and join him. A length and a half Mellowbrook on the inside of Dallas Girl. 6 or 7 lengths away then Marceau. Wonder Family of Man and Salamander is last. Up by the 600 and the leader Manikato, a half King of the Stars, 2 to Dallas Girl. A half further back then came Mellowbrook. 4.5 lengths away now, Family of Man is being hard ridden from Marceau and Salamander. On the turn, 3:50 to go, and the leader is still Manikato, a half King of the Stars. 3 to Dallas Girl, 4 away, dropping right out of it Mellowbrook. Family of Man's running on, but he's too far back. And Manikato, given his head, dashed away as they turn for home, 200 to go. He's 2 lengths in front of King of the Stars, 3 lengths to Family of Man, Dallas Girl and Salamander. And Manikato's coming away to win it brilliantly. Scores by 3 lengths. Second, King of the Stars, a length away third, Family of Man, Salamander.
He then went to Sandown in the All Stakes, and I think that was probably the best I ever had the horse. He was running at Sandown, the perfect track for him, 1,400 metres, his perfect distance, and he was as fit as I ever had him through his whole career. It was a star-studded field, included a horse from Brisbane who they thought was a certainty called Gypsy Kingdom. And Gypsy Kingdom chased him hard all the way, but just couldn't lay a candle to him. And I'm sure he broke Gypsy Kingdom's heart that day. And I honestly don't think that day there was a horse in the world could have laid a candle to him. He was perfect there.
Called on the inside of Lefroy, who's pulling hard from Lloyd Boy, Leonidas. Then a half to Double Century, 1 to Marceau, Salamander and 3 to Think Big and Valadero. 8.50 out down the hill. There's no pace on for this class of horse, and the leader Manikato, a length and a half, Gypsy Kingdom. 1 to Family of Man, 3rd on the fence from Sasha's Choice. Then
he pricked his ears and had a great old look around the corner, and I just sort of held on, and when we straightened up I just rode him hands and heels and he just straight away again.
Manikato with his ears pricked on the corner, 500 to go, 3/4 Gypsy Kingdom, 1.5 Family of Man, Sasha's Choice, Lloyd Boy and then So Called. Into the straight, Willett still got a big grip on Manikato. He's nearly a length to Gypsy Kingdom from Family of Man, Lloyd Boy, Sasha's Choice, So Called galloping over their heels and Lefroy coming home well. Willett goes for home, Manikato charges away and 200 to go. Manikato's racing away from Gypsy Kingdom and Lefroy, and Manikato's going to win in a breeze. Scores by 2 1/4 lengths to Gypsy Kingdom. Lefroy has run 3rd. 4th place.
He went to Caulfield in the Futurity Stakes of 1,800 metres. A lot of people thought he wouldn't run the journey. I remember we'd had a fair bit of rain on the morning of the race, and I was a bit concerned about that. But he won the Futurity very easily that day, and again beat a field of top horses.
The rails, Lloyd Boy, Leonidas 3 deep. Then about 2 lengths, Salamander, Think Big and Family of Man, the last 2. Going up the hill now to the 1,400 and Manikato under double wraps, a length and a half. Lefroy 3/4, Stormy Rex and Leonidas 3 deep. 2 lengths to Lloyd Boy, a length Salamander, 1 to Family of Man and 2 to Think Big. 1,300 out and Manikato. Willett's got a good hold on him. He's nearly 2 lengths in front of Leonidas in 2nd place. 1 to Stormy Rex, the rails a lot more forward than usual. 3/4 to Lefroy. 2 lengths to Lloyd Boy and Salamander. 2 lengths to Family of Man and 2.5 lengths to Think Big. 1,100 out and Manikato, the leader, still with his ears pricked a little over a length. Leonidas. A length away, Stormy Rex, a half. Lefroy, 1 to Salamander. They bunch up a little bit. Lloyd Boy now moving past it. 1.5 to Family of Man being ridden quietly, and last is Think Big. Coming down to the 800 metre mark, and Manikato still under double wraps. 3/4 Leonidas. Lloyd Boy moving up 3 deep around Lefroy and Stormy Rex on the rails. A length and a half Salamander. Half a length to Family of Man, and Think Big's joined Family of Man now at the rear. Manikato led at the 600. He's gone away about a length and a quarter to Leonidas, a length and a half Stormy Rex, followed by Lefroy. Then Salamander getting up on the fence from Lloyd Boy. Family of Man giving them a big start and Think Big. Willets kicked Manikato away at the 400. He's run nearly 3 lengths in front of Leonidas, Stormy Rex. Then Salamander, Lefroy dropping out from Family of Man, but Manikato led into the straight by 3 lengths to Stormy Rex. Then Leonidas, Salamander, Family of Man is at the head of the others, but Manikato's much too good for them with 150 to go. He's about 4 or 5 lengths in front of Stormy Rex and Salamander, and Manikato's going down to the line to win by 5 lengths. Stormy Rex second, Salamander third, Family of Man a very disappointing.
Hoisted next did a brave thing. Manikato was, at this moment, perhaps the best sprinter miler in the world. Hoisted decided to see if he could stretch the horse's speed to 2,000 metres in the Australian Cup.
Racing. Jumped away well. The mare stumbled slightly with R1 and Dulcifier's back near the rear, and Manikato quickly in front by a length to Salamander. When they settle down and Manikato, Willets takes hold of him. Turf Ruler is moving up out wide but doesn't want to lead. Marceau up there with Double Century, Salamander and Lloyd Boy along the inside from Lefroy, a length the Family of Man, Stormy Rex. Then 2 to Think Big, Ken Karma, Lemare, 2 to Dulcify and R1. And to Manikato, 500 out. Turf Ruler, Marceau, Salamander and Lemare 6 wide across the track behind him. Then a length to Double Century, the rails, Lloyd Boy, followed by Stormy Rex and Can Karma. 400 out and Willets hasn't let go, and Manikato's 2 in front. Now he goes for 3 in front from Turf Ruler. Lemare's gone. Then Double Century, Lloyd Boy, Dulcify trying to get out from Salamander, Family of Man, with 200 to go. Willets waving the whip at Manikato. The champion 3-year-old's well clear, but Family of Man flying down the outside. Manikato stopping, and Dulcify will beat them. Dulcify gets the split and gets up to beat Manikato. Third, Family of Man. Fourth, Stormy Rex.
Not a bad horse to be beaten by, Dulcify, who might have been anything. And Dulcify beat Manikato again when Hoisted took him to Sydney and began his campaign there with the Rosehill Guineas. But the next start, the George Ryder Stakes, was one of Manikato's greatest performances. To paraphrase a well-known poet, he showed them the method of travel. He came in alone.
And anyway, he went out that day, and Gary had been booed the previous week. This week I told him to give the horse as easy a run as he could, because I had the Doncaster in the sights the following week. Anyway, he won by 8 lengths. Gary had got a little bit carried away with the crowd booing him, and he wanted to show them what a great horse he was, and he really did that day. He ran a course record.
Outside next, Always Welcome, and about a length further back then, Belmure, a lad from Joy to Manor, were point at the head of the others then as March Legend with Romantic Dream and Lady Athenaea. As they went to the first turn, and Manikato, using his speed, had taken over the lead by 2 lengths to Bernard. A length and a half away in third place, the Judge racing very awkwardly today. Getting up on the inside of him, Jester Boyne, a length to Crippleox, and a length and a half then to Fralo. About a half length to Lady Archon, 1.5 to Kaiser, and a half Big Vicky's, and then Belmure, a lad, Always Welcome, fairly well back with Joyita. And then a length and a half further back, Manawapoi. Last into the straight will be March Legend, next to last Romantic Dream. With 400 to go, and Manikato the leader, about a half length or so to Bernard. A length and a half away in third place, Crippleox, followed by the Judge in nearer to the inside, and then Jester Boy. As they come to about the 200, and Manikato the leader has got away here from Bernard. Crippleox went into second place, but Manikato's off today. He's 3 lengths in front at the 200. We're going to see the real one today. I think he's well clear from Crippleox, with Always Welcome starting to run home pretty well out wide, but Manikato has blitzed them. Look at him go. Manikato's 6 lengths. Wins it in a walk. 6 lengths from Joy to second. Third, Always Welcome. Fourth is Belmure, a lad.
Next, Manikato ran third in the Doncaster, which as a race has always been a lottery because of big fields and handicap conditions. Then to Queensland and the Rothmans 100,000. As in the Doncaster, the handicap conditions were against him.
He had to set a weight carrying record for the 3-year-old this day, and he travelled beautiful all the way, and he won the race well. I didn't pull a whip on him. He did the job good and got to the line good, and you know, that could possibly be one of his great wins.
Gentle James and Pacifica running on pretty well. Manikato now has dashed to the lead. Imposing's coming after him gamely. Manikato the leader, and Steel Blade joining in. Manikato's in front of Steel Blade. Coming home gamely on the outside there was Casca. Manikato in front. They go to the line. Manikato or Casca wide out, and Sharmosa near the inside. Then Imposing follow their way.
A little over a month later, Manikato won the freeway at the Valley.
Manikato, 3 lengths Mr. Magic, followed a length away Scamander, Caraman, Hard-Ridden, Banco Regis, Private Talk, Caduceus, then Old Time Jazz. Now at the 400 and Manikato coasted up to Owen J Star coming to the turn, put its head in front there, 6 lengths to Mr. Magic, Scamander, followed by Private Talk, but Manikato has drawn away, and as they're about to turn for home, he's gone 2 lengths to Owen J Star, 6 lengths away Mr. Magic, Private Talk, Banco Regis, but Manikato clear. He's keeping him going. Owen J Star's battling on second. Manikato getting weary again on the line, but he'll win. Scores by 3 parts of a length to Owen J Star. He's a good colt too, 8 lengths away third, Private Talk. There followed further back Fear No Wind made up some ground.
The man then ran 12th in the Marlborough Cup. He went to the paddock, a 4-year-old, a legend, the great chestnut with the pounding legs.
Jumped away well, except Tincture lost half a length at the start. Manikato quickly showing in front. Tincture driving up on the inside now to join him in the lead, and Willits will let it go to the front. 2 lengths to Sans Rival, 1.5 lengths wide Tangaroo and Sarfraz, and 2 to Halberg. Going to the 9.
Back he came in the autumn of 1980. Again he won the William Reid.
Now they've got out 6 or 7 lengths to wide Tangaroo, then 2 to Sarfraz and 3 to Halberg. Going round the 700-metre corner and Tincture in front, Manikato cantering at his girth. 2 lengths to Sans Rival, about 5 lengths wide Tangaroo, making a little ground. 3 to Halberg and Sarfraz dropped out last. 5.50 to go, and Willits has allowed Manikato to go to the front under a tight hold. Half a length to Tincture, 2 lengths to Sans Rival, 5 or 6 lengths wide Tangaroo. He's doing nothing. Halberg starting to run on pretty well, the stablemate of the winner, and the winner is going to be Manikato with 300 to go on the corner. He coasted away about 3 lengths in front of Sans Rival. Tincture's gone. Halberg's running a very good first up race. He might even get up and run second, but Manikato went away 4 or 5 in front in the straight. He's going to bolt in from Sans Rival. Now Halberg accelerating. He'll run second all right. And in the run to the post, Manikato won by 5 lengths to Halberg, a length to Sans Rival third. Down the hill at the 800, and Manikato under a tight rein, a half length.
Again he won the CF4.
1.5 Hyperno running a big race from Star Air, Better Copy, Wonder Ming Dynasty, Father's Day. They've got out 3 lengths to White Tangaroo, a Worry Symbol a long way back looking for a run on the inside, followed by Pagal and Moonhawk. Salamander last into the straight with the leader, Manikato. About a length in front here from King's Highway, and Hyperno starting to drive up into second placing. Then Better Copy, Star Air, followed by Father's Day. Coming to the 200, and Manikato, 1.5 to 2 lengths to Hyperno, is battling on strongly. Then Better Copy in third place, followed by Ming Dynasty, and now White Tangaroo are running on. But Manikato is going to be much too good, and he goes to the line to win by 2.5 lengths to Hyperno, a great run. Third is Better Copy just in front of Ming Dynasty.
Again, he won the Futurity.
Bow out by 2 lengths at the 1,000. Manikato in second place, settling kindly. A length to Jukebox Junior, a half to Tolhurst, pocketed on the fence. 2 to Gondolier, followed by Better Copy, and then came Consenting Princely, a gap to Ico and Rooney. Past the 800 at Asian Boat, 2 lengths to Manikato, 1 to Jukebox Junior, a length to Tolhurst, a half Gondolier. Then Princely, Better Copy, Consenting, Hard Ridden, 2 to Ico and Rooney. 600 out an Asian Bow, bowling along 2 lengths to in second placing Manikato, who's going very kindly today. Then 1.5 lengths Jukebox Junior, he's hard at it, Tolhurst on its inside, then Gondolier, Consenting and Princely. As they made the turn, 400 out, Asian Bow in front, but Higgins easing Manikato up now. He's hard at work on Asian Bow, and Manikato, he's under double. Wraps the champ. He's cantering. Next Jukebox Junior, followed by Tolhurst, but there he goes. And there's a champion, Manikato. He's raced away now from Asian Bow. Jukebox Junior running a big race, and then Tolhurst and Consenting. But Manikato's gone to the line, 4 lengths in front of Asian Bow. Jukebox Junior third in front of Consenting and Tolhurst, then Rooney. Back behind it, Gondolier.
Again he went to Sydney, and again he won the Ryder. This time going 121.6.
Well, it's kicked up and went to the lead on Manikato, and the champion is fair dinkum bolting, approaching the 800. It's Manikato in front by 3/4 to Steel Blade, running third on the outside, Silver Wraith, and then Legends. Sportscast behind those, out a bit deep as Ambassadora, then Aegeus Nikolaos, followed by Gypsy Kingdom, and 2.5 last Middleton Sam at the 600. Coming around the sweeping turn for home, and Manikato held well together, led nicely from Steel Blade. Silver Wraith, the NZ, are making a line line of 3. Now 2 lengths away, Sportscast under heavy pressure, turning the corner, followed by Gypsy Kingdom and Ambassadora. In the straight, 300 out, and Manikato led. Willis hasn't gone for him yet. Now he gives him a dig, and Manikato effortlessly bounded away. Manikato 3 lengths in front of Silver Wraith, Ambassadora. Middleton Sam out wide, running on well, but it's all Manikato, and by golly, it's an easy $62,000 as this powerhouse sprinter bolted in. Manikato by 2.5 lengths. Gypsy Kingdom flew to get second.
Then disaster. In the Galaxy on March 22, the Grand Horse suffered a bleeding attack, a bad one. After the race, it was also discovered he'd suffered a heart attack. The pundits said this was the end. The saga was over.
I was approached in Sydney just after the event with an offer to sell him to American interests because of their relaxed laws on this sort of thing, the bleeding over there. And Bob and I spent a fair bit of time thinking about that. Obviously, we had to consider what it meant to Bob losing it, and me not being able to go and see him race. And in the end, we decided that for the benefit of the horse, regardless of whether he ever ran again or won again, that for his benefit, we'd keep him. And so I think we made the right decision.
I was discussing this with Mel Seckle, his owner, one night over a social occasion, and I said, oh, he'll never race again. He said, of course he will. So the argument continued. So we had a bet. I bet him $2 that Manikato wouldn't race again. Well, what was that? That was in the autumn. He was back winning William Reid Stakes in the following January. And Mal, who has great respect for money, he's got the $2 pinned up on the wall at home.
Well, of course, the saga wasn't over. There were greater glories to come. But the Galaxy was the turning point. It would never be the same again. The easy days, the days of the great athlete, were gone forever. Now it would get harder and harder. Now the doomsayers would be ever present, the pressure on Hoisted immense.
After that race, there was a terrible lot of pressure on me to retire the horse. All the scribes, I think even Ida Buttrose got a face into the scene of telling me that I should retire the horse. And I again just resisted all those pressures and said, well, the horse will tell me what he wants to do.
But even this sort of pressure failed to daunt Hoisted or his great horse. The comeback in the 1981 William Reid, run in blazing heat, was sensational.
Ready, racing. And Mr. Independent was the first to get going over towards the outside, but Manikato quickly in front. Grey Sapphire and Prince Ruling now trying to go with him. Lawman was next, and they were followed just behind them by Turf Ruler, who's away well from Silver Wraith. Mr. Independent dropped a long way out of it now with Middleton Sam and Hyperno.
And I think it was about 110 degrees that day from memory. And another trainer gave me a clue. We used the old Coolgardie system of getting him to the races, of putting wet bags in the float. And he travelled out there in comparative comfort.
Run, and they're followed then on the outside, Lawman, Silver Wraith going around them, then behind them Hyperno, and further back Middleton Sam, Mr. Independent at the 500. Manikato a half to Grey Sapphire, a half to Turf Ruler, still deep. 1.5 Prince Ruling, he can't go on with it, and then Silver Wraith and Hyperno, but Manikato led around the turn, nearly a length to Grey Sapphire. Turf Ruler's the danger. Manikato got a length in front, but Turf Ruler's coming at him quickly. Manikato a half in front, Turf Ruler gradually getting to him, but the champ's still in front. Turf Ruler trying hard to run him down, won't make it. Manikato, he's won it an extra Turf Ruler.
Then it was the oar again.
Lights on, racing. They've jumped away in a pretty good line. Manikato was about third away. Prince Ruling's going to lead them early with Manikato now on his outside from My Brown Jug, Super Spree. Then Turf Ruler, Silver Wraith, a couple of lengths further back. Then Ming Dynasty with Mr. Independent, and Hyperno's 6 lengths last. To ease out, and they've kicked away. Into the straight, Manikato a neck in front of My Brown Jug, the outside. Turf Ruler's got up to be third, 2 lengths away. Then Super Spree, Manikato just in front. He's hard at him. He's holding a lead of about a half length now. Turf Ruler's going to be the danger. Manikato's rider's getting desperate. He's gone for the whip at the 200, but he's holding the lead. In second place, My Brown Jug. Turf Ruler can't get to them. My Brown Jug's grabbing Manikato near the line.
My Brown Jug, Manikato going stride for stride. They hit it and Manikato's done it. Manikato's.
And the futurity. Again.
Out with Manikato and Silver Bounty and Duckatoon going fast from Lascivia Old Breck. 3 lengths to Deck the Halls, Middleton Sam and Bohemian Grove. Manikato just in front of Duckatoon, who's holding the inside of the 1200, but now Manikato gets across, Lascivia second. Duckatoon on the rails third. On the corner and Manikato under a tight rein and neck to Lascivia. 2 lengths to Duckatoon and then a length further back Old Breck. Turf Ruler trying to get up on the fence and Deck the Halls whipping around them. In the straight, Manikato quickly kicked away from Lascivia and Duckatoon. Turf Ruler's got out, he's coming with a run, but Manikato's got well clear from Lascivia. Then Turf Ruler and Duckatoon. Manikato in front. It's holding a lead of a length. Turf Ruler coming at it strongly, but Manikato goes into the record book. And Manikato's won the race by about a length and a half.
Manikato had only 3 runs that preparation. He won them all. What more could he do, you might ask? But by now the speculation was endemic. The horse was forever on the edge of this disaster or that disaster. The next campaign began with an open 1,000-metre handicap at Sandown. Manikato was carrying 63.5 kilos and Roy Higgins was on board.
You know, in the straight when I did ask him for that effort, even though it was nowhere near a comparison to the Futurity Stakes effort, it was still there, that massive heart of his just said, got enormous will to win.
Now Manikato, Higgins drives him through in the centre to join them once again, and the champ's taken a narrow lead on the corner from Albania, King of the Stars out wide, and then followed behind them Sleeping Giant. By now's got a run on the fence in the straight, and Manikato just the leader. He's nursing him at the moment from Albania, followed by King of the Stars, by now Sleeping Giant. Now Higgins asked Manikato to go. He quickly drew away, running on fairly King of the Stars, but Manikato showing his class, and he's going to win it easily. Manikato scores by 2.5 lengths to King of the Stars.
Again, the Marlborough eluded him, but not the race every owner wanted to win, the Queen Elizabeth Cup in the presence of Her Majesty at Caulfield. Many, like Glenn Lester of the age, thought it one of his greatest runs.
Just the whole atmosphere is similar to Kingston Town when he won the 3rd Cox Plate. It was just captivating, the whole episode.
Away they go.
Roy Higgins rode.
We had 2 great weight for age horses racing against us that particular day in Sovereign Red and Lawman. And 800 metres from home, Sovereign Red took Manikato on. He made us work extremely hard from the 800 metres right until into the straight. And then we left a sitting duck for Lawman, who sat back behind us. And he appeared, and he appeared strongly in the last 100 metres. Once again, that great fighting heart was there. And right on the line, even though most people said that Manikato would have been beaten in another bound, I'm quite sure, well, I'm positive in my own mind, that in those last 20 or 30 metres of that race, we were holding Lawman. And I'll never forget the presentation. In the presentation speech, I thanked Bob Hoyston for having the great Manikato fit for a queen, and that truly was on that day. It was one of the real highlights of my career, and to be associated with the great Manikato on that day will be a day I'll always remember.
To My Axeman on the outside, making ground 2 lengths away, then to Silver Bounty. Next is Glenson and further back to Lawman. On the turn, Sovereign Red moving up to tackle Manikato. Looks to be travelling kindly at the moment though. Manikato led by 3/4 to Sovereign Red. Gorham goes for the whip on Sovereign Red. They're 2 lengths in front of Silver Bounty. Lawman starting to run home strongly. At the 200, it's Manikato in front of Sovereign Red. Lawman down the outside, running home quickly. Manikato in front. Lawman and Sovereign Red getting to it on the outside. Manikato still in front. Lawman trying hard on the outside, but it's Manikato. Manikato by a neck to Lawman.
Manikato's next race, the Churnside Stakes at Sandown, was to be another turning point. Now the leg trouble began, in the same place it had begun for Kingston Town, in the suspensory ligaments.
And from that time on, we had considerable trouble with his legs, and quite a few vets looked at him at different times and said I was wasting my time. But with the help of my own vet at that time, Mr. Jack Sewell, we kept the horse going. I found from experience and experimentation that by getting ice packs on the horse the moment he'd worked and then after he'd raced, that it seemed to keep all the inflammation out of his legs.
Manikato's greatest public acclaim was still ahead of him, but now the great athlete was gone. The great comeback was over. From now, Manikato's heart would be great. From now, he would be doing it on courage. And this is perhaps a good moment to look at the horse himself and at the dedication, the fussy, perfectionist ways of his trainer. These are Bob Hoisted's stables in Mentone. Note the name. It's a special place, this. All stables have their own flavour, a mood if you like. And the feeling you get here is this. This is a good place for horses. Horses are happy here. Horses come first here, even if it means going out every hour to change the bandages. The stables have numbers. Manikato was always in box 6 there. But no horse is a number. The memory of Manikato will always fill this place. He is everywhere.
The Hoisteds are great horse people, and Bob was able to just continue where Bon had left off, and dedication, I think, is the word to describe them, because they put their whole heart into training their horses, and they think horses, and they know horses, and they've been brought up with horses. And I think the fact that Manikato won his 5 successive Reed Stakes is not only a tribute to him, but also to Bob, to have the horse fit, capable of winning.
I've been lucky enough to have him fit enough on the days to win them, but he's had the courage to go out there and do it, and particularly the last 2 years he has raced on his courage, and that's what's got him to the post first. He's had these dicky legs. I've had to try and judge how to get him into a race fit enough to win, but not overworked so there's any soreness, or not too much soreness in his legs. And you couldn't do it really with a normal horse, because you're striking too fine a balance. But Kato, where I've missed out a little bit, he's made up for that with his extra courage. Well, he likes doing the same thing every day. He's always been a creature of habit, and he loves going to the track first thing in the morning, being first horse to leave the stable. He likes getting to the track and walking for a while. If you try and put him in a stall down there first up, no way will he go in the stall. He just refuses. He likes to walk around. He'll then allow you to put him in the stall and be saddled and go out and work, usually with the old pony. Chilo's been a very big help, and I got very annoyed yesterday, as a matter of fact. We've been changing his companionship around in the box here between Scamander and Shiloh, and one of my staff had forgotten to put Shiloh in, and the old boy was very upset because Shiloh was missing, and he really wanted him there with him. Travelled everywhere with him, on the floats to Sydney and back. He's always been in the yard next to him. Shiloh's now about 22.
There have been some memorable Australian training feats. Think of all those premierships of Tommy Smith's. The man's as freakish as Bradman or Lindrum. Think of Cummings' Melbourne Cups. Think of the number of winners Colin Hayes trains every year. Think of Woodcock and Farlap. But don't forget Hoisted and old Manikato. The 3 gods in the pantheon of the Australian turf are Carbine, Farlap and Tulloch. Manikato isn't quite up there with them, but he achieved one thing they didn't. He was a champion for 6 consecutive seasons. And if that's a testimony to his heart, his pounding will to win, and of course it is, it's also testimony to the horsemanship of R. Hoisted. That horsemanship and a lot of ice brought Manikato back for the William Reed again in 1982.
Racing. Jumped away pretty well. Manikato in front of Watney when they settled with Atlantic Flyer. Full on Aces. Silver Bounty is second last and Copper Rocket last. Manikato under double wraps led at the 1,000, joined by Atlantic Flyer and Yer Tiz. 1 length further back then came Watney, a half Full on Aces, 1 to Silver Bounty and 2 to Copper Rocket. Not much pace on at the 800 corner. Manikato on the inside ahead to Yer Tiz, 1.5 Atlantic Flyer, 1 to Watney. A neck Full on Aces, 1 to Silver Bounty and 3 to Copper Rocket with 600 to go. Manikato striding out nicely about a neck to Yer Tiz. 1 to Watney has gone up very quickly, not a lot of pace on. Then Atlantic Flyer, 1 to Silver Bounty is very close to the leaders here. here, 1.5 Full and Aces and Copper Rocket. With 400 to go, Manikato ahead to Yurtiz and Watney out 3 deep. 1.5 further back, Silver Bounty and then Atlantic Flyer under great pressure, and the 3-year-olds aren't in it. On the corner, Manikato held together about ahead to Watney 3 deep. Yurtiz weakening a little in the centre, and then Silver Bounty. Go for home, Gary. It's into the straight. Manikato a half length to Watney, followed by Yurtiz and then Silver Bounty. Manikato drew a half length, 3/4 in front. He's got it, 1-4 in a row. The old man's back. Manikato goes on the win by 2 lengths. Yurtiz might have got second, a nose in front of Watney, ahead to Silver Bounty.
Galleon stopped him winning his 4th consecutive futurity. But Manikato then went to Sydney and took his revenge on Opera Prince in the Canterbury Stakes. The horse that had bled, the horse with bad legs, blazed over the 1,200 metres in 1:09.5.
For home in the Canterbury Stakes, You Bet I Do, the leader from Manikato. Opera Prince pulled to the outsiders, making ground in a hurry, followed by Swift Gun, and then Calm Joe coming to the 200 though. Manikato again tackling You Bet I Do. Opera Prince can't reach them. The champ Manikato got the better of You Bet I Do. Manikato starting to sprint away. Opera Prince trying courageously, but the champ for the money. He's too good, Manikato. The powerhouse sprinter wins again. Opera Prince second.
But then the knockers were out again after Manikato ran third to My Gold Hope in the All-Aged. Manikato again went to the paddock. Back he came on the 8th preparation of his career to take the freeway in 1982 as a 7-year-old. And the crowd roared for him, loved him.
Stand well in their racing. Count Ajax on the inside, bounded well with Common Star away quickly. Manikato towards the centre. Quabo got out smartly towards the inside. Segovia and Rhythm just behind them with Buljetta. Soldier of Fortune a bit further back in the field on the inside. Cobra in company further away in the field by Fearless Brider. A gap then to Spectrum, who's on the outside of Bin Bingo, followed by Lawman, who's beaten for early pace, and Silver Bounty is last of all. Manikato has taken the leader with about 800 metres left to go by a half length. Segovia and Rhythm a length and a half. Quabo close up on the outside is Common Star. 3 deep is Buljetta, and just behind them Bold Prospect going forward. Cobra next on the outside of Count Ajax. A length to Soldier of Fortune, there followed closely by Spectrum. Bin Bingo, Lawman commencing a move, and so is Silver Bounty in the well-packed upper. Coming up with about 450 metres left to go, and Manikato and Segovia and Rhythm together. About a length to Buljetta on the inside of Bold Prospect as they round the home turn. Quabo followed by Cobra. Further back as Count Ajax, a gap to Lawman starting to run on. Segovia and Rhythm on the outside, and Manikato as they straighten up with 200 metres left to go. Segovia and Rhythm's got his head in front of Manikato, who's fighting on well now. It's Manikato on the inside, Segovia and Rhythm. Manikato and Segovia and Rhythm. Quabo is joining him with a good run. Manikato just in front. Quabo flashing home out wide. Manikato just the leader. Manakato's just beaten Quabo, and tight for third. Lawman flew home.
Next he won the Mimsy at Caulfield.
Manikato has taken the lead at the top of the straight, tackled by Galleon. Quabo is still there. Lawman is down the outside, and they're followed by Bin Bingo. Manikato on the inside, tackled by Galleon at the 200 metre mark. Lawman is under the whip, and then came Quabo. But it's Manikato in front with 100 metres left to go. He's holding Galleon. Lawman running into third place at Quabo, but it's Manikato. Manikato will win the Mimsy. Manikato a half length to Galleon. 2 lengths away, third Lawman.
But the speculation began again after he finished third in the Fian at the Valley when everyone hoped he'd pass the $1 million mark, then ran unplaced in the Churnside at Caulfield. He looked poor in the coat that day. He faded at the finish. He was distressed afterwards. Now, Hoisted and Seckel for the first time thought seriously of retiring him.
It was probably one of his worst runs. He'd looked bad that day, and he came back after the race rather distressed. And both Mel and myself were you know, pretty well confirmed in our minds that he would be retired then. But I thought about it for a couple of days, changed his training tactics around a little bit, and he brightened up. He, you know, just seemed to come to life.
How lucky we were he did step out, for this was the day of days, an exquisite piece of racing history coming just 40 minutes after Kingston Town had won his 3rd Cox Plate. Those of us at the Valley that day knew we had been blessed.
Racing. They've jumped away pretty well.
You know, we discussed the race, and I said to Bob, look, if I can just sit off them and give it to him easy so he can come into it. And it worked beautifully. The pace was a cracker, and I just sat off them, and I knew actually coming up with a 600, well, this is it. You know, I thought he's going to get it, and I straightened up, and I remember looking over my shoulder, and Roy was looking for a run on Razor Sharp, and I thought, well, there's not going to be one there. And when I sort of put the pressure on him, he had this tendency to get in, and I thought I'd just get to the line.
After Manikato, Razor Sharp sitting in on the fence, and then Rani's Palace, followed by Road Terry and Atjar and War Chest and Avatar. On the turn now, and Rancher just the leader, Addington sticking with him, a half-length Manikato. Razor Sharp looking for the run, and then came Avatar. Rancher's under pressure, Manikato's got him. Manikato's going to get the million. I think he took the lead from Rancher. Razor Sharp running on well from Avatar, but Manikato's cracked the million. He's 1.5 lengths to Razor Sharp.
We had savoured the magic moment, so it almost seemed irrelevant that at his next two starts, the Pure Pack and the Linlithgow, both at Flemington, our hero could manage only third. Now came the 9th and last preparation. What did Manikato do? He won the William Reid for the 5th time.
Can he do it, the champ? They're set. They're racing. Perfect breakaway to Quebeau on the outside, and Manikato first into stride now from Torbeck. And Ideal Planet has begun brilliantly, quickly spearing up to third when they settle down, and further back then Demas, followed by Avatar, Maya Vita, then Morandi, and last of all Silver Bounty around the turn at the 950 metre mark. And Manikato drove up on the inside and led by a neck to Quebeau. 4 lengths further back then Ideal Planet, 2 lengths to Torbeck, 1.5 lengths to Demas. Then on the outside Maya Vita, a half length further back Avatar, and 2 to Morandi, and Silver Bounty coming down with 750 to go. And Manikato is doing it well on the inside. A neck in front of Quebeau, a length further back in the field, then coming around the outside Demas. Ideal Planet waiting for a run off the fence, followed by Torbeck. Silver Bounty starting a run from Avatar, Maya Vita, and 2 lengths last of all Morandi. At the 400 metre mark, and Willits is about to ask the champion to go. Manikato about a neck in front of Quebeau, 1.5 lengths further back Ideal Planet. Demas on the outside, followed further back by Torbeck. On the turn, and the champ is asked to go again now. Manikato about a half length in front of Quebeau. Ideal Planet trying to get out. It's Manikato in front, 150 from home. Quebeau trying to get to him, and Torbeck down the outside, but he's going to do it, I think. The man is hanging on Manikato. Torbeck lunging down the outside, but he's got home. Manikato, he's done it again. He's won it by a head to Torbeck.
Next, it was a 2nd in the Lightning at Flemington. Then, after that 5th William Reid, a 4th Futurity.
Racing. Caught them in a beautiful line, and Avatar's the early leader. Pure of Heart and Rom Stiletto away well. Manikato and Torbeck moving up on the outside, and Morandi dropped out to the rear with Crown Man and Showmoran. Over the hill now, Manikato got to the lead, 1 length to Torbeck on the outside of Rom Stiletto, 1.5 lengths Avatar and a half Pure of Heart, 2 to Showmoran, Morandi and Crown Man. At the 1,000, Willits has got a good hold on Manikato, and he's slowing them up. About 3 parts to Torbeck, 1 to Rom Stiletto, the rails, a half to Avatar, 1 to Pure of Heart on the inside from Morandi, is going up quickly wide. 1 to Showmoran and Crown Man, 5 lengths off the lead at the 800. It's Manikato. Half a length to Torbeck. They must be going slowly because Morandi's come from last to join Manikato. Torbeck now 1.5 lengths away, and a half Rom Stiletto from Avatar. 1 to Showmoran. Pure of Heart lost its place. 3 to Crown Man. Manikato the rails in front at the 500 and next to Morandi. 1 to Rom Stiletto going well, and Torbeck outside it. Here's Avatar coming 3 deep. Pure of Heart looking for the run from Showmoran. But it's Manikato leading into the straight. He kicked a length clear. Torbeck pulled to the outside. Rom Stiletto trying to get through. Pure of Heart badly blocked. Manikato, Willits went for home. He's got 2 in front. Torbeck out after him from Avatar. Pure of Heart's got nowhere to go. Can his old legs keep him going? Manikato a length in front. He's going to win it. Manikato wins the Futurity, nearly a length to Avatar. Torbeck third, 4th.
The champ went to Sydney for another tilt at the rider, but was beaten by the brilliant mare Emancipation. Now look carefully at this. It's the suburban colt from Campbelltown's last run in a race.
Streaking away from Manikato and beating just over.
In all, Manikato won 29 races over 6 seasons. He was only 5 times unplaced in 47 starts. He collected $1.1 million in stakes. He set winning sequences in certain races which I think I can safely predict will never be equalled. But this is the stuff of computer records. This was no super robot of the turf we've been watching. Manikato was a horse, game and marvellous, one of the great sights. He didn't hit the ground, he pulverized it. He just didn't want to beat the opposition. Like the great heavyweight fighter he was, he wanted to destroy them. He hated fuss. He seemed bored with acclaim. He lived to do one thing, to race his heart out.
Probably the greatest thing about Manikato, I think, outside of his ability, was his courage. You know, he was a horse of tremendous courage, had a huge will to win.
I've ridden some great sprinter milers in my life, right through the great filly Storm Queen, who achieved in her 3-year-old days probably something like an equal to Manikato. Horses like Century, Taj Rossi, all great names that are now down in history and in the record books, but there was certainly none better than the great Manikato.
And to win a weight for age race for 5 successive seasons, and I'm referring to the William Reid Stakes, that just won't be repeated again. That's like a store gift winner winning the store gift a dozen times in succession. It just won't happen again.
This horse, I think in a few years, he'll be the measuring stick of all the horses that are racing.
It's just changed my attitude to racing and to life generally. I couldn't imagine as to how anybody could ever want 6 years of have 6 years as good as that.
One thing about it, I said to one of my lasses here one evening, we'd had a particularly long, hard day with him. We got home, I think it may have been the William Reid Stakes day when I was 110, and I thanked the girl for her help that day, and she just looked up and said, "Oh, boss, he just makes it all worthwhile."
This footage, shown for the first time with the permission of Manikato's connections, is the last film ever taken of the Grand Horse. While we were completing this film, Manikato died. In the quiet of the night, he was brought out here to Moonee Valley and buried. In the morning, a sheaf of flowers lay on his grave. And so the great horse rests, as he should, at the site of possibly his greatest triumphs. Those 5 William Reids and that wonderful Moyer Stakes. And you know, there's something symbolic about the placement of this grave. It's behind the tote building over there. And racing, sure enough, is about the punt. And that building with its race day bustle is there to prove it. But if you just want to bet, you can always play poker or pull one-arm bandits. Racing is more than the punt. It's ultimately an affair of the heart. This grave, in this spot, so eloquently proves the point. In the end, racing, like Manikato, has a big heart. Within 48 hours of Manikato's interment, Kingston Town was following the path of Burnborough and Farlap, California bound, for special treatment for his bad legs. If he improves, he might race. And we know the King well enough to say that if he does race, he just might win, even if he's running 10th and lurching on the home turn at Santa Anita. But whatever he does, we've probably seen the last of him on Australian racecourses. When Kingston Town won his 3rd Cox Plate here, David Haynes said, "We've had the stars, we don't deserve the moon as well." Both Kingston Town and Manikato have given us all, in 6 seasons of racing, the moon and the stars. And something more as well. People talk about the romance of the turf. These 2 horses are the romance of the turf. Somehow it seems all of us own a little piece of them in our hearts and our memories. Banjo Patterson, who knew about horses, once wrote, "There are a good many things in nature that cannot be explained, and a great racehorse is one of them." How do we explain 2 great racehorses? We don't. All we know is they are 2 in a million.
He'll win. The $1 Million Man's won it. The old man's back. Manikato goes on the win by 2 lengths. He might win yet, the champ. Craig took the lead. Oh, Kingston Town